Folly beat South Carolina late last month, killing the bride. Her lawyers say she poses no flight risk or danger to the community and should be released from jail.
And checking Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 246 points, NASDAQ down 150. This is CBS News.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
You're listening to a radio station that's part of the Civic Media Network. Find more at civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Natnair. Here's what you need to know. The Milwaukee Bucks may be closer to signing a new head coach. ESPN reporting the team has interviewed 15 candidates and narrowed the choice down to 3. Ex-Toronto coach Nick Nurse, Golden State Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, and Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin. The Phoenix Suns, Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, and Detroit Pistons are all on the lookout for a new coach. Gas prices down nearly $1 compared to last year. That's good news if you'll be hitting the roads for the long Memorial Day weekend. AAA expects 800,000 Wisconsinites to head out of town, with the vast majority opting to drive. AAA booking data also shows airfares to top spots are up 40% from this time last year. I'm Jane Natnair. This is Civic Media News.
It's time to have some fun and make a difference, Waukesha County. Attend the 2023 Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha Dream Builders Gala on June 9th at 6 p.m. in the Dominica Park neighborhood. Help celebrate the accomplishments of last year while helping to create, preserve, and promote affordable housing in our area. Enjoy an upscale barbecue, live entertainment, and the chance to make a real difference in the lives of local families. Register now at habitatwaukesha.org/events. That's habitatwaukesha.org/events. Let's build a brighter future together.
North Shore Healthcare is hiring. As the largest provider of post-acute care in Wisconsin, they offer skilled nursing and assisted living services, as well as home health and hospice care through North Shore at Home. They're looking for compassionate individuals who want to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. If you're a CNA, licensed nurse, administrator, or business professional and want to grow your career, visit nshorehc.com/careers to find out why North Shore Healthcare is the right choice for you.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Moving Day, a walk for Parkinson's, is happening around the country. Together we can unite it.
It's great to be here to speak directly to the woke mob.
The liberals have basically made up this whole agenda that guacamole is made of avocados. It's not the truth.
Ticked off, tee off. This is it.
Scubbity boo boo. Scubbity doo.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin! Have you ever skipped going to the dentist, buying a prescription, doing a follow-up preventative thing because of cost? 844-967-2789. Have you skipped any health care because you just couldn't afford it? And so you took the risk saying, I think I'll just muddle through versus having to pay this part of my deductible if you have insurance, or paying it if you don't have insurance at all. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96. Hello, Greg Bach.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am peachy keen, a little tired, but peachy keen.
Because it's Greg Bach Hump Day Wednesday. Jane Mannair, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
So I guess I will set up why we're talking about this today. So the Federal Reserve survey called Economic Well-Being of U.S. Households in 2022. It's an 84-page report. No, I did not read the whole thing, but I did skim it.
Which makes you a far better person than I will ever be.
So it found its many findings, one of which is the share of Americans who skipped medical treatment last year because of costs rose substantially. And so basically because of inflation, Americans across income levels are cutting back on spending, including healthcare, in an area where people feel like they can scrimp. But the problem being is that, the ability to afford healthcare often translates to, big shock, better health. And so I thought this would be an interesting place to start as far as, and maybe it wasn't in the last year. Was ever a point in your life where you're like, I can't afford to do this medical thing right now, so I'm just going to deal with this nagging pain or this, I'm not going to go to the ER to get stitches. I'll just deal with having a scar.
Or I'll cut my pills in half.
And so 844-967-2789. Greg, do you have a thought on this?
Oh my God, yeah.
Lots of thoughts?
Lots of thoughts. Many times. Still doing to this day.
Really?
I don't go to the doctor unless, I mean, I would say, I would probably say Bridget, my wife, has told me maybe half a dozen times in the past year and a half to go to the doctor for like a cough or a flu or something. I just won't go.
So is that because of cost?
Yes.
Or it is? Because I know this is also a thing that I feel like ails men more than women.
Yeah.
Of a stubbornness of not wanting to go, which is different than not going because of the cost.
Oh no, for me it's all about the cost.
All about the cost. Okay.
Well, and the other thing too is nowadays navigating your health insurance is really tough. Like a month and a half ago, you probably remember this. I had a really sore throat, like really bad sore throat. It was,
It's different than when you missed the show 2 weeks ago.
Different. Yeah. Yep.
God.
Yep.
Take care of yourself, Greg Bach.
Okay, all right.
All right, keep going.
Man, you should put a ring on it if you want to tell me what to do, lady. No, and I went to call to get into a place and went through our insurance, and the 3 suggestions they gave me that were within distance had all changed their practices. They were no longer ear, nose, and throat. They were all sleep study institutes, essentially. They were all like sleep apnea institutes. None of them did that stuff. And so I was just frustrated. I'm like, well, I'm not going now because now I have to go. What, I have to go to Chicago to go to a doctor?
So in network for your insurance, there was no drivable doctors that were ear, nose, and throat.
Correct. Every one of them I called. One of them, well, actually, I called 3 of them. One of them didn't even pick up. And the other 2 said, we do sleep apnea. We do sleep studies now. We don't do that stuff anymore. I can give you a referral. It's like, but the referrals you're giving me are like 2 hours away because my wife works for a company in Chicago. She works from home. It's mainly in Illinois. So I was just annoyed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. And it went away and it's fine. I'm feeling much, much better now. But yeah, but mostly the cost, because I just want to go get checked out and someone say, all right, here's the thing, here's pills, or here's a cream, or here's an exercise or something like that. You're fine. And then I get a bill for $300 to go do. No, I'm sorry. I'll go when there's real pain, but I'm not going. I'm not paying someone $300 to tell me to take a day off.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Have you skipped healthcare or dentist appointments, or have you had to cut your pills in half recently because of the high cost? Texter from the 414 says, I have $4,000 of dental work I've been skipping for 2 years, and I have insurance.
Well, dental insurance is a racket.
Oh, but it's all a racket.
But I think because the dental insurance, it's like where everything else with health insurance, there's your deductible, but then, it's like I've always thought about this especially once I didn't have health insurance through my company and I was freelancing, it's like, it's basically emergency. This is like, I have this insurance in case I get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Because the deductible's so high that I'm never going to have enough appointments in the year where I'm going to meet my deductible. So this is basically like if an emergency happens that's over $5,000, I'm going to
5,000. That's low for some. I've seen like
for
10.
a single healthy 30-year-old.
I've seen $10,000. Yeah, I mean.
So, but like on the flip side, you have a max with dental. Like they cover 2 cleanings, they cover 2 fillings, and they'll cover like half of a crown. And then otherwise you're totally on your own. So you're like, why am I paying a monthly premium on this when like you basically don't cover anything anyways? And like, please someone explain to me why your teeth are so magical that they're like require entirely different insurance, and they're not somehow, it's not even like your eyes. These are not part of your body.
Yeah.
This is not part of your health.
Friends, Kristen is spicy today.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Have you skipped healthcare, dentist appointments, whatever, because of the high cost? Ben from West Bend joining us. Hey, Ben, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. I have to skip on a dentist bill. I have to get my fillings replaced because I have stretch fractures all over where my fillings are.
Gosh.
And it's $484 up front. I can't do that right now. I just cannot do it. I mean, everybody in Wisconsin has the exact same dental insurance. It's Delta.
Yeah.
And you pay into it separately from your regular health insurance too. And it's like, I can't afford $400. I have to push that back like months so I can pay it off, by increments. Or hopefully in the next by the end of the summer, I'm driving semi where I can actually afford to go to the, go every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, and Ben,
healthcare is more like, either it's more like it sounds like to me it's like extortion. Either you pay for it or you're on your own completely.
Totally.
Yep.
Thanks so much for calling, Ben. 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. My husband just went for his annual, and we're in our 60s. These are preventative checkups.
Yeah, it's a time of life where this is important.
This is important. So we go once a year for our annuals, and this is ostensibly covered by our insurance. He just got a bill for $183 and called and was told it was a fee to reestablish the relationship with this doctor that he saw last year. Yes. Because he said, look, this is supposed to be covered under our policy. It's our annual preventative checkup. And he was told this is the fee to reestablish the doctor-patient relationship.
They can really do anything they want. I mean, it's criminal. It's criminal.
But I feel like it just takes the time and effort. Like if you ask for like an itemized bill at like a hospital, they have to send it to you and you can start challenging different things. But like you have to have, 1, the knowledge to know to do that, and 2, the time to do that.
Yeah.
But like, oh yeah, like they will totally try to, both the hospitals, because we always blame insurance companies and they deserve a lot of blame. But this is also hospitals that charge you $200 for a Band-Aid, right?
Yep.
As far as what they can get away with, because they're playing this game with insurance all the time, which is then sometimes why it's cheaper to just pay cash. Like if you talk to some of your especially mom and pop providers, they'll give you a better deal if you just pay them cash so they don't have to deal with insurance.
Yeah.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Dave from West Bend. What do you think, Dave?
I do think overall that dental insurance is more like it's more like discounting or coupons than our regular health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say that it's a good idea for anybody to have a discussion with whoever does the billing where you get your dental care. I have Delta Dental, like a lot of other Wisconsinites, but I also have dental under my United Healthcare. And they're really good at keep going back, sending bills back, either whether it's to Delta Dental or to United Health, and getting things paid. So I think it's a good idea to make sure that the people on the billing side, really know how to get as much paid for you as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, totally, as far as like just being able to have that relationship and be like, what can we do here?
Yep.
Because that's who's talking to the insurance companies, right? So thanks so much for the call, Dave.
844-967-2789. You can call in and or text and check in with us if you like.
Have you skipped any healthcare because of cost? And that can be something simple as far as just not going to the doctor every year or not getting. This was literally, he's not going to be happy that I told this story, but Mike split open his eyebrow this week.
Oh, gosh.
And it wasn't bleeding that hard. So I was like, I don't think it's that hard. But we had just spent all this money on Cliff because Cliff was still sick over the weekend. And we had waited a lot, like at the doggy hospital and stuff. And so he goes out and he's picking up my shoes. So of course, this is my fault that this happened. And he just hit his head on the counter. And he came up and he has like a little split now. And for him, it was both. He's like, I'm not gonna go sit at urgent care or emergency room for one stitch. I will deal with the scar. And I don't think it's going to scar that bad anyways, but it's like
tough.
The wait times, the cost, and like when it's just minor things, you're like, toughen up, I'll deal with it.
When someone says urgent care, I'm like, what? That's like twice as much.
Is it?
It feels like it because urgent just feels like they're going to
gouge you. All right. Have you skipped any healthcare because of cost? We would love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-party. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Feeling down, anxious, depressed? You are not alone. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 280 million people have depression, but the majority never receive treatment. At WellPoint Care Network, they can help. Their outpatient clinic staff are both qualified and caring, not to mention highly trained in partnering with you on your healing journey. Make an appointment today at wellpointcare.org. They serve all ages, infants, children, and adults. Both in-person and virtual services are available. Learn more at wellpointcare.org. The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
Weather brought to you by Taqueria Miyagi, Waukesha's authentic Mexican food truck, which is now open and ready to serve you. Find us at 1610 Lincoln Avenue in the BP gas station parking lot or call us at 262-278-6590.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I just...
Have you skipped any health care to avoid incurring the cost of getting something that may not feel like a big deal, or you can deal with it and you can justify just holding off or doing it later? And sometimes like when Ben from West Bend, I have to imagine that's painful.
Oh, dental.
Like stress
dental
fractures in
issues.
your fillings. Like I have to imagine that is not fun. Like eating and all this stuff, like dental stuff.
No.
It's like back pain.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
like, especially when you think about like a root canal that then requires, I mean, the root canal, I don't think you get out of there for less than $2,000.
Well, and with Ben too, he said he had to pay almost $500 up front. And what if something happens in the interim? Maybe his refrigerator goes out, or you need new tires or something else, and that's going to blow that all up too. And I did want to point out, I also saw my doctor recently for my annual, and I'm way overdue for a colonoscopy. And I asked her, I said, that is covered, right? As a preventative, unless they find something.
Wait, what?
It's free to get a colonoscopy, provided they don't find any polyps.
So if they do, then you get charged?
Yes.
How does that make sense? Because if they find something, then you have to go through, I would imagine, some kind of treatment, right?
Yes.
Like I said, they'll get you any way they can. God. Absolutely.
I mean, she did say that she believed that there were efforts to change that, but she wasn't sure how it currently stood. But that was standard for a long time. Your colonoscopy is covered under preventative unless they find that you have a problem. Then you got to fork out for it. Wow. So where is the incentive then to go get this procedure done? Because colonoscopies can cost several $1,000s.
And they're like and a colonoscopy is like 1, if not 2 days out of work because you got to do the prep.
You have to drink the horrible thing.
Drink the horrible thing, and then you get the thing done, and then you're on your back. And I mean,
have you got one yet?
Not yet. I'm at the age now. They're saying
it's coming.
I'm 45. Gotta go in, and then they're gonna go in.
Comment on we have Josh on the YouTube live stream, which you can always tune into if you would like to watch us instead of just listen to us.
You want to watch us?
You want to watch us on As Goes Wisconsin on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Josh Egan says we have put off things because of the cost on things. And the not so funny thing is my wife works for a large healthcare provider, and they don't get any help on certain things. You'd think that'd be a perk of the job.
Yeah, or like working for a hospital. Like I'm a doctor. Oh, your healthcare must be great. No, it's terrible.
No, it's
the same stuff
stuff you get to deal with, except I just look the person that I work with in the eyes when they tell me how much this is going to cost.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Have you delayed getting treatments or getting dental work done because of the cost? Karina from Milwaukee joining us. Hey, Karina, what's up?
Well, I just want to add my insight because I'm a healthcare professional. So what doesn't make sense anymore actually is to have an insurance, because after your payments for a premium and a deductible, basically how does insurance make money? Insurance makes money on denying your benefits. So why you have insurance to begin with? If you're going to take that $300 and put it in your health saving account, and then you can put that $5,000 or $6,000 deductible every year into the same saving account, then you can use that money and you can negotiate your own prices with anyone out there, one, and two, when you retire, you can actually convert this account into IRA. So you do not need health insurance. You need to save money by yourself, because the only thing what you're going to get from the health insurance is that they're going to charge the provider and you, and then in the middle of the procedure or ongoing treatment, will cancel it for one reason or another. That's all.
So you're saying that by having a health savings account instead of insurance, but what if you get cancer and you don't have that much money in your health savings account, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars, or
hundreds of thousands of
dollars. Or a back surgery. I mean, if you haven't saved that much, how does that help?
Well, this is a great question. If you have a history of cancer or any other clinical disease that we're talking about, this is a good practice to actually have an insurance. It's called emergency insurance, where you have basically Medicare Part A. You have a hospital insurance at all times. You also can buy yourself a dental insurance. Will cost you about $30 to $70 a month, and you can buy a visual insurance individually as well. And you can pay all other premiums and deductibles from your saving account. Everything what has to do with your insurance, with your health, you can use your saving health account. Just count how much money you pay for no good reason to your insurance year after year after year after year.
Yeah.
And you will see how much money you will collect.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call, Karina.
I did ask an employer once, and I said, like, hey, if I, this money that I'm paying into it, if I'm not using it, can I have it back? Because that's my money.
I know.
Especially if I get, like, and they're like, no, you can't have it back. I'm like, this is my money, though. I gave it to you. Give it back to me now.
I know.
I came to work.
All right. Well, we are going to, I think if we get any more calls or texts on this, we will keep talking about this through the other side of the break, because I also want to talk about one of the other findings as far as how many Americans can even afford a $400 expense right now. The percentage might surprise you.
Things
So
are gonna get
we will talk
depressing.
about that on the other side of the break. We would love to hear from you. Have you skipped any health care because of cost? 844-967-2789. And we'll also talk about Uvalde a year later in the next segment. Stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Check out the Devil's Advocates Radio with Crude and Dumb.
You guys really make sense.
Weekdays 4 to 6 on the Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will get into the Republican race for president later today. He's been far behind former President Trump in early polling. He'll do it on Twitter alongside Elon Musk.
It'll be the first time that something like this is happening on social media and with real-time questions and answers.
A woman whose granddaughter was among the 21 who died in the Uvalde, Texas school shooting says today, the one-year mark, is tough.
It's a roller coaster of emotions. It's sad, angry, frustrated.
House Speaker McCarthy says debt ceiling negotiators are back at work today. Overseas, 5 foreigners accused of fighting alongside Ukrainian forces will go on trial next week in Moscow. CBS's Vicky Barker at the Foreign Desk.
A Russian news agency says the 5 men, 3 Brits, 1 Swede, and 1 Croatian national, will face terror-related charges. The trial opens next Wednesday.
CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
Your home for local news, weather, and sports across the airwaves and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Milwaukee leaders are urging state senators for local control to solve their budget problems. At a Senate committee hearing yesterday, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley described a dire situation.
We will have to make over $100 million in cuts to provide the same level of service that we do now, after already cutting approximately $300 million already in the past decade.
For now, the shared revenue bill requires Milwaukee and Milwaukee County to hold referendums to increase local sales taxes. Meanwhile, Madison leaders say they're not getting enough shared revenue under the bill. Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway tells the Cap Times an increase of a little more than $2.5 million a year isn't enough. In sports, the Brewers blanked Houston last night 6-0. The rubber match is this afternoon. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Images are everywhere, on iPads, cell phones, or the cloud. In fact, everywhere but where you can find them. Mike Crivello Camera and Imaging Center has the solution to this problem. They're called pictures, and we print them right from our website. And you order them online at MikeCrivellos.com. And they look magnificent in your photo album.
Mike Crivello's world is a wonderful world of camera.
It's not a picture till it's printed.
Okay, let's get real. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired at your dead-end job? Want to stop worrying about money, health insurance? Get peace of mind right here, right now. Here's your chance to earn while you learn. Get smart. Call Smart Local 18 to learn how easy it is to be happy again to go to work. No matter what your situation is, everyone everywhere deserves an opportunity. Call now. 262-798-1818. That's 262-798-1818.
A no-holds-barred political conversation. That's Matt Flynn Direct.
Anybody running against Trump, if he calls them a nasty name, they should hit him back twice as hard. This is not the Marquis of Queensberry gentleman's rules anymore in politics, certainly not in the Republican Party. Hit him hard.
Matt Flynn Direct, weekday afternoons from 3 until 4 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app. Log on civicmedia.us.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn.
This picture looks a lot better. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and he is Mr. Greg Bach.
Hello.
And we have been talking about whether or not you are of the 28% of Americans who have skipped medical attention or health care because it's pretty expensive. Pretty expensive.
Nice.
And I don't know if I have. I think my skipping of medical attention in the last couple years has been I've moved insurance a lot.
Yeah.
I moved a lot. So I got back to Wisconsin and I was on some temporary stuff. And then I was freelancing everywhere. So I didn't actually have insurance. And then since I got in civic media, then it just became the barrier to figuring out who is actually a network. See, this is the same thing. This is my recurring theme. This is the same reason I don't like online shopping, because you get a list of providers. You're like, oh, how do I know who's good besides just picking a name randomly? And then I end up moving on and not doing anything else. But now I have to go to the doctor because
why?
I'm making a person.
Really?
You made people?
What?
I'm making a person.
Jane, did you know this?
I have heard rumors about a baby on the way.
I personally.
If I ever get annoying talking about it, you both have to tell me.
We passed annoying weeks ago. I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, you really, honestly, you aren't.
Yeah?
You aren't. And
Okay.
when you speak of said baby, it's very factual. So it's kind of like went to the doctor, did this thing, but you don't oh, I'm a glowing mother to me. I'll kill you where you stand. Do you understand the importance of being a mother? No, I don't.
I can't eat that because of the baby.
I'm eating for two, Greg.
I'm eating for
Did
two.
you know that? Did you ever listen to that song
Can you
by
please not breathe around me?
Did you ever listen to
toxins into my baby?
Simon and Garfunkel's "Pregnant Women Are Smug"?
What?
There's
You
a
mean
great
Garfunkel and Oates?
Garfunkel and Oates. There's a song called "Pregnant Women Are Smug." It's great.
I don't think I've heard that
But
one.
let's get back to what we're talking
We'll
about.
get back to what we're talking about. Anyways, so we were asking whether or not you've skipped medical care, and along with this finding in the Fed survey on this, they also found that 37%, so a third, 1 out of 3 of Americans lack enough money to cover a $400 emergency expense.
I mean, why am I saying wow? Why am I? I'm not shocked.
It's up from 32% in
Yeah.
2021.
I'm reading a book right now talking about they're mentioning poverty numbers. Of course, this makes sense in my brain. Yeah.
So whenever there's an emergency, somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 customers has to use credit, turn to family, sell assets, or get a loan to cover a major unexpected cost.
And those payday loans are
Should be just.
I know.
They should be just illegal. They should be run out of town. That's a monstrous thing.
And when asked about non-emergency expenses, 18% of Americans said the largest expense they could cover using only savings was under $100. Wow.
I mean, that speaks to so many things as far as financial responsibility, job availability, the ability to all those things. It's because there are people out there who could afford it, but they don't have good financial responsibility of their own. But then there are people who just don't have the jobs to save up the money.
Mhm.
There speaks to so many things as Americans, as consumers, why we don't have just some basic money in our savings account, like $500.
And it's not just poor planning,
No.
right? It's not just people who spend their money
No,
poorly.
no.
It's, and we're actually going to be talking to Genevive Redsten, who is a real estate journalist at Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, because she put a report out earlier this month as far as like over the basically since the Great Recession in 2008, what's caused the housing shortage in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so there's basically 4 different main things that she outlined. So she's going to be here at 12:30.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that more. But I think like the cost of housing is a huge issue and a huge like component to why people can't cover an unexpected cost of more than $400 because a lot of money goes to rent.
I feel very lucky that we were able to buy a house. I sometimes feel embarrassed saying that we bought a house because I know that some of my friends will never buy a house.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm being hoity-toity. I'm not. We worked hard to save our money, and we're lucky. We're privileged. But still, it's like you say, like, I bought a house last year. It's like, oh, are you rich? Not even close.
844-967-2789, 844-96-party, asking if you have delayed surgeries or medical treatments or dental work because it's just too expensive. Jan from Richland Center. Hey, Jan, thanks for joining us. What do you want to say? What do you want to say?
Thank you. Well, I wanted to respond to the woman who called in and said, save your money, don't buy insurance and put it in the bank. What she needs to understand is that when the hospital bills you, Medicare and most Medicare supplements discount it. They only pay a certain percentage of it. But if you pay cash, you're responsible for the entire amount. The hospital bill might be $3,000 and Medicare might approve $1,000 and your insurance might approve $1,000 and you're going to get stuck with $1,000 bill. And that's how all the clinics and hospitals operate.
So what you're saying, Jan, is that if you don't have insurance, you're going to have to pay the whole $3,000 net by yourself.
Correct.
Can you call them up and negotiate that down on your own behalf? I mean, I'm actually asking for myself now as.
Yeah, that's possible, but you won't get the same discount that the insurance companies get. Because they're a large group and you're a single person negotiating.
Got it.
And hello to Jan's husband, by the way.
Yeah, so we can hear he's chiming in the background. We got a little audience back there. But thank you so much for that information, Jan, and thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's not great.
Dexter from the 262 says, I have insurance and I just can't afford the bill. The last procedure I had was preventative care. I ended up paying for the whole thing. It was $3,000.
And the only thing, and I don't know how much people, I have care credit, which is, wait,
what is that?
Is that like an HSA?
I don't know if it's, no, it's like a,
sorry.
What I understand care credit to be, and I hope this is right because this is how I'm using it, is basically when you pay your medical bills with it, it delays interest for 6 months.
Oh.
And so it's like my last dental thing that I got done, which was I had to replace a crown, not cheap. And so I put the whole thing on there and I basically split it up into 6, like I divided what the cost was by 6 so that it's all paid off within the 6 months and there's no interest on it in that time.
It's like a Best Buy credit card.
Is that how Best Buy works?
It's the best tooth card.
Yeah.
But I think you can use it for pet stuff. You can use it for a lot of different things. And obviously like the limit on it is not super high. So you can't like go through cancer treatment on it, but it is something that is available as far as giving you a little bit more runway of charging it and then paying it off in increments.
Bridget and I have an HSA right now. And my thing is like, they always make it seem like, well, we have an HSA and this is perfect for you. It's like, no, none of the solutions you're ever going to give us until it's single payer is going to be a great option. It's just going to be a way for you to make more money, to make us suffer. And they know that we're not going to go to the doctor. They just understand that people are just not going to go, or when they finally do have to go, we have no choice. There's nothing we can do. And we're going to be stuck with a huge bill.
How's this for a pivot? Who do you think pays for the medical bills of victims of a mass shooting?
Whoa, jeez.
Their families.
Are they on the hook for it?
I would imagine so. Gun manufacturers certainly aren't.
Isn't that a uniquely American question?
And there's new legislation, I believe, at least in the works in some states, to give even more protections to gun manufacturers.
Well, and I bring that up as such a harsh pivot because today's the anniversary of the Uvalde shooting.
Repeat the question, though. What was that?
So when there is a mass shooting and a victim survives, they get
Correct.
shot, but they survive.
Correct.
But clearly there is going to be medical bills.
Yes, of course.
Who pays for those medical bills?
I mean, this is going to sound really cold-hearted, but they are.
They are, right?
Yeah, of course. They can't make the gunmen do it because the gunmen's if they're still alive, they're going to jail.
Or a lot of times they're dead.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course. In no way, shape, or form is the insurance going to care. They just want to get paid. That's how twisted it is.
Well, and I was just looking at some of the things that have popped up as far as a year later and what's happened in a year. Yeah. And as much as, there was a applause and at least recognition that at the federal level, the bipartisan gun legislation that was passed after Uvalde was good. It was a step in the right direction. But overall, across different state legislatures, U.S. lawmakers have okayed more pro-gun bills than safety measures in the last year.
Because that's what we need. 844-967-2789, 844-96-party. Price is calling from Texas. You are a former Wisconsinite, though, Price.
This is correct. Yes, I'm down here now. We've been down here about 8 years.
How is it?
It's okay.
I like the
Texas,
pregnant pause of like, how honest do I want to be right now?
Where in Texas are you living?
DFW area.
Okay.
South Fort Worth.
Yep.
And kind of just what you guys were talking about health insurance, like I'm fortunate enough I had a job. I just lost it very recently, but
I'm sorry.
That's fine because it happens, But the health insurance was fine. But talking about the dental, I was paying a dental plan every month. And when I had to get a new crown, they said, "Oh, your insurance doesn't cover anything. All it did was cover cleaning." And my HR department didn't tell me that, so I was on the hook for the whole like $1,800 for that. And then your commercials, a lot of them are mental health commercials, and there's a lot of people that can't afford mental health, and that's a huge health insurance issue.
Totally. And Texas isn't really helping with that as far as I understand what Greg Abbott's prerogative is.
Well, speaking of, and just you guys are talking with Uvalde and survivors of mass shootings, the insurance policies GoFundMe, and I'm not even kidding. And Abbott has been saying down here that's like it's a mental health issue, but he's slashed mental health funding for pretty much everybody. And and I'm going to quit after this just because I could go on for so long. But even someone, a Republican down here in the Texas legislature barely mentioned something about, hey, maybe we should do something about guns. And his entire party censured him.
Oh my gosh.
He was
censured. He didn't even do anything. He didn't do anything. All he said was, maybe we should do something and look into some issues. And that was enough for the people down here.
Because they are cowards.
And people don't vote down here. People don't vote. And there's a lot of restrictions on voting, but if that could just get taken care of, where people could be encouraged to vote, because I listen to a podcast down here. If you're ever interested in Texas politics and you want to just listen to the Texas Take, it's called, with Scott Braddock.
Take.
He says that the most important statewide election in Texas is the Republican primary, because about 3% of the people of the state vote in the Republican primary, and then the Republicans always win the statewide offices. So that means 3% of the people, and it's usually the most out there people voting for these politicians. They're the ones who decide the policy. And I'll go and I'll keep listening, but I sure miss
thanks for listening. It's great to hear your perspective, because I think being, all the way up here, we have thoughts on what it's like to live in Texas or Florida, but it's interesting to hear it from a perspective of someone who is from Wisconsin, living there now. So thanks so much for the call, Price. We're going to keep this rolling, but we got to take another break. We're going to save Greg's roundup for next hour. because we seem like we have some momentum here.
Those jokes aren't going anywhere.
Those jokes are not going anywhere. All right, stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha.
One call can do it all. Your business's message can be broadcast across the entire state of Wisconsin through the Civic Media network of stations, or we can focus the campaign in your hometown. We have the flexibility. You have the control. Civic Media, 608-819-8255.
Love the outdoors, but lack the gear to explore it? River West Outdoor Pro Shop has everything you need. Rock climbing, snowshoeing, kayaking, and more. Don't know what you need? Come visit the shop located in the basement of Milwaukee Turners at 1034 North Villar Phillips Avenue. Their friendly staff will help you find what you need. For questions and hours, call 414-272-1733, extension 16. 414-272-1733, extension 16.
Did you know your favorite shows and hosts are active on social media too? Find Civic Media on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and be part of the conversation happening there. And go to our website, civicmedia.us, to learn more about the Civic Media Network.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 62. Winds out of the northeast, 10 to 20 miles an hour. Lows around 42. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Mainly sunny skies and calm. Tomorrow, highs around 61. Mainly sunny skies and calm. Friday, with highs around 69. 73 Saturday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 61 degrees.
Kind of like going round and
I wanna be in the headlines. Anything to be in the headlines. Summer chance.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I'm Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. He is Greg Bach. You turned your camera off.
Oops, sorry.
And we've started the first part of the hour talking about healthcare and wanted to spend at least a little time talking about Uvalde since
Today's the anniversary.
Yeah. And I mean, I was wrecked last year. And it's interesting to feel like there's so many mass shootings. There's so many random shootings.
Yeah.
And which ones you feel kind of desensitized to. And like, that it's awful. But like this one was like, I was really wrecked last year.
This is going to sound really weird, but I think anyone who's an American will understand this. I think that I'm most desensitized to school shooting where children are killed because it's happened so many times. And then my immediate thought is nothing will happen. And somehow the people who should never be blamed will be blamed. And the people who should be held responsible will never be held responsible.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that sickens me the most.
And for me, because I had been doing news for the last 7 years, the Vegas shooting stood out to me. But then, as you said, Greg, there have been so many more. But I think I'm with Kristen. This devastated my world last year. And I think one of the reasons, among many reasons, is because those children were so disfigured, their parents had to supply DNA so they could identify them.
Yeah.
And just try and wrap your brain about what that meant for those parents and the agony and the fact that all of those well-armed officers
just sat there
for an hour. And I believe it's 60 Minutes just released some unseen footage from that day because the parents want the public to see this of these officers once they did enter the classrooms and their reactions afterwards, and they're throwing up and sobbing. And these are cops.
Yeah.
But the parents want people to see that. And I had some very intense conversations with my then colleagues about whether or not we should be forced to see pictures of this, which we've talked about.
Which we've talked about. And I see both sides of that argument as far as for the average normal person to be confronted with that kind of imagery because it's so shocking, but also understanding the people who would abuse
without a doubt
that. And so you have to be careful, but it's just, I look at this. And so the, firearms bills signed into law since May 24, 2022. And this is from Axios, and they just have, and Wisconsin hasn't passed any, both for either gun restrictions or access to. And so there's certain purple states, I think you can see that there's not as much, but like states that have passed anything that restricts access to firearms include Vermont, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, Michigan, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii, Washington. Utah and Indiana are the two states that have a combo of restricting access and expanding access. And then where access has been expanded, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida.
I want to take a minute to run a portion of a PSA that's from 2019, and it was put together by the group March for Our Lives about training in the workplace for active shooter drills.
I'm also seeing tons of posts where people are like, I can't afford rent, or like, where people are like,
Sorry, wrong clip.
All right, so good morning. Welcome to today's team building event. Today, we're going to be learning what to do in the event of an active shooter. We're going to bring in a special guest. She's actually an expert on this, and she's going to be leading our team building events. This is Kaylee.
If there was an active shooter, you'd all be dead. When you talk out loud, the shooter can tell where you are and where you're hiding. Sometimes we play the game who can stay quietest the longest, so we all remember. You can try and protect your friends by pushing the tables and chairs against the doors. You also have to put a piece of paper over the door window so they can't see in. And you can't cry. It gives away your position and your hiding spot. And if you're in the bathrooms, you have to stand on the toilet seat and crunch down so they can't see your feet and they can't see your head, so they don't know that you're in there. That's crazy. If the shooter comes in the room, screaming won't do anything. You have to try and fight back. Our teacher used to sing a song to make it easy to remember. Lockdown, lockdown, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound, and don't cry or you'll be found.
Again, that's a PSA from the group March for Our Lives from 2019. And essentially, it's a 10-year-old girl talking to a group of adults and giving them the instructions that our kids are getting in school.
As the expert.
As the expert, yes.
Well, at least Texas is fortifying their schools.
And making it easier for people to get guns.
Yeah. But yes, because in Texas, 1 year later, Texas lawmakers are poised to pass measures that they say will make schools safer, but doesn't have anything to do with restricting access to guns. And so basically it's measures that would provide incentives to schools, to school employees to arm themselves, require school safety inspections, and mandate mental health training for teachers. And they've already sent Abbott a bill that would require school districts to install silent panic buttons in every classroom. And as they did after the 2018 Santa Fe high school shooting, GOP lawmakers who control the legislature in Texas have opted to further fortify schools rather than restrict the purchase of guns and ammunition. And so
What does that even mean?
So in 2019, the legislature created a $100 million grant program to pay for security upgrades. So it's like bulletproof glass and safety inspections and stuff like that. So it's like putting the onus on the trying to make the building safer versus some of that money to mental health, some of that money to, I don't know.
Well, and we just heard from Price, who is a Wisconsinite who's living in Texas, has been for the last few years. Greg Abbott just cut all the funding for mental health in Texas.
What a good Christian.
All right. Well, that was a fun hour.
Yeah.
We're going to have more fun in the next hour, I promise. Actually, when we come back, a little game of Would You Rather. Would you rather spend 60 days in prison or in jail or a full year on probation and have to do 100 hours of community service? Which one would you opt in for?
Okay.
We're going to talk about that after the top of the hour news. Stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
It's time to have some fun and make a difference, Waukesha County. Attend the 2023 Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha Dream Builders Gala on June 9th at 6 p.m. in the Dominica Park neighborhood. Help celebrate the accomplishments of last year while helping to create, preserve, and promote affordable housing in our area. Enjoy an upscale barbecue, live entertainment, and the chance to make a real difference in the lives of local families. Register now at habitatwaukesha.org/events. That's habitatwaukesha.org/events. Let's build a brighter future together.
Hey, this is Lindsay Kindred at 540 WAUK The Shaw. At Civic Media, we love our local communities and want to share your stories. Submit your local event and we'll let our listeners know. Email me, Lindsay Kindred, at info@civicmedia.us. That's info@civicmedia.us.
You are listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Steel.
I'm Steve Kathan. Debt ceiling negotiators are back at it today. Moments ago, new comments from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Still far apart. It didn't seem like it'd be this hard.
But he thinks progress can be made today.
I firmly believe we will get and solve this problem.
CBS's Jill Schlesinger says a lot of people will face trouble if the nation lurches into default.
On June 1st, Medicare providers are due $47 billion. Veterans benefits, military pay and retirement, civil service retirement, billions of dollars here. The following day, June 2nd, 67 million Americans receive Social Security, $25 billion.
It's a day of mixed emotions in Uvalde, Texas, 1 year after the school mass shooting that left 19 children and 2 adults dead.
The victims' families and survivors of the school shooting will have to relive the worst day of their lives.
It's going to be overwhelming. Very sad. We are going to have deja vu.
Berlinda Areola lost her 10-year-old granddaughter, Emery Jo Garza. Mercedes Salas taught 4th grade at Robb Elementary in a classroom across the hallway from the massacre.
Every day I wake up thinking of them. I pray for them.
Manuel Rizzo lost a niece. He spent Tuesday at the state capitol fighting for gun reform.
Our justice is to make changes at all levels to prevent another Uvalde.
Chris Fox for CBS News, Uvalde, Texas.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis enters the Republican presidential race later today, flush with cash, but trailing in early polling to former President Trump. CBS's Robert Costa.
DeSantis' team is confident that he can build momentum in the coming weeks. He will be meeting with his donors in Miami in the coming days before a formal campaign launch sometime in the coming weeks, and then a trip to those early voting states.
Trump lawyers have sent a letter to Attorney General Garland asking for a meeting, claiming without providing specifics, the former president is being treated unfairly in the special counsel investigation into the handling of classified documents. Overseas, 5 foreigners accused of involvement in the Ukraine war will go on trial next week in Moscow.
The 3 British men, 1 Swedish national and 1 Croatian man, have been accused of fighting alongside Ukrainian forces because Russia continues to insist its invasion of Ukraine is a special operation to defend Russia. It does not consider them prisoners of war, but instead has charged them with terror-related offenses. The trial begins next Wednesday. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
And checking Wall Street, right now the Dow is down 249 points. The NASDAQ is down 130. The S&P 500 is down about 33 points. This is CBS News.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot trademarks of their respective company.
The Civic Media Network of radio stations across Wisconsin. We are your hometown radio, refreshed.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair. Here's what you need to know. If you're heading out of town for the long Memorial Day weekend, you will have plenty of company. AAA says over 800,000 Wisconsinites will be traveling this weekend, with the majority hitting the roads. And there's some good news for drivers. Gas prices are down about $1 from last year. The record high for Wisconsin travel was in 2019, when 833,000 people left town for the holiday. St. Norbert Assistant Professor Ben Chan's 9-game winning streak in the game show Jeopardy ended last night. In the final round, Chan misspelled the name of a Shakespeare character by 1 letter. In total, Chan walked away with over $250,000. ESPN reporting the Milwaukee Bucks have narrowed their choice for a new head coach down to 3. Ex-Toronto coach Nick Nurse, Golden State Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, and Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News. North Shore Healthcare is hiring. As the largest provider of post-acute care in Wisconsin, they offer skilled nursing and assisted living services, as well as home health and hospice care through North Shore at Home. They're looking for compassionate individuals who want to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. If you're a CNA, licensed nurse, administrator, or business professional and want to grow your career, visit nshorehc.com/careers to find out why North Shore Healthcare is the right choice for you.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love Party Packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Is that word?
Innovative.
Innovative?
Innovative. Whatever. You can say it both ways.
I think it's it indicates.
Indicative? Is that the word you were looking for?
That is a good word, Kristen Bry.
A friend wouldn't make fun of somebody for knowing a word. See, this is what I'm talking about, people. Kristen Bry does not believe in friendship.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin! All right, let's play a little Would You Rather in a real life scenario. But we're going to get your answer before I give you the context of the story that this comes from. Would you rather spend 60 days in a correctional facility or a full year on probation and also 100 hours of community service. Greg Bach, which one would you pick?
Option B.
A year probation.
Yeah.
And a community service. Jane McNair, which one would you pick?
Oh yeah, a year probation and community service over jail.
Yeah, for 60 days, for 2 months.
Yeah, does not
just get it over and done with. Then time
Nope.
served.
I think jail.
This seems like a trick.
I think jail and I would not do well together.
Really? I feel like you would be like a dead mother in jail. I feel like you would like ingratiate yourself to like a lot of people really quickly. And like it's like the different characters from Orange is the New Black. Like you'd be like Red. You just have to do your Russian accent.
You'll all be fine. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. Just come to me and I'll fix for you.
Exactly.
You think they're looking for den mothers in jail?
I don't know.
I think I'd be the woman who'd get beat up trying to be the den
You just
mother
have to
in jail
lie about what you're in there for.
and make it worse
And be like, I killed my husband and his family.
with a pencil.
She's in for jaywalking.
Well,
and they all moved away from me on the bench.
Okay, so I feel like I'm probably with both of you too, as far as probation and I guess maybe just learning more about what probation, because sometimes probation is really tricky. You can't hang out with like you can't be in any vicinity of like other felons. You can't be in a bar. Like there's a lot of stuff that like catches you up on probation. So, and you know what the correctional facility is. So there's some more gray area there that I can't answer the questions to. But this is Wisconsin story. This is the Shorewood lawyer who spit on. Do you remember this story from 2020 during the George Floyd protests in Milwaukee?
No.
So there was
a lot was happening back then.
A lot was happening back then. But Stephanie Rapkin, the Shorewood lawyer who was convicted of a misdemeanor after spitting on a black teenager during a racial protest in 2020, chose to spend 60 days in jail instead of do community service and probation.
She should have gotten both. That's called white
so
privilege.
She's 67 years old, and she outright rejected the judge's sentence of a year probation and 100 hours in community service, choosing instead to spend 60 days in the house of correction as punishment. And I'm so interested. This woman just sounds like a pill in general, because what happened as far as it's a misdemeanor. It's battery to spit on someone. But on top of that, she got caught lying under oath, and it was
a felony.
And when she was resisting arrest, she kneed the police officer in the groin.
Oh,
so she sounds like
she might do well in jail.
She might hold her own.
She probably loves Texas.
But I thought that was so interesting as far as and I don't think it's the first time I've heard that of someone saying, I would rather just serve the time and be done entirely for a shorter amount of time than spend a year of this hanging over my head or 3 years of this hanging over my head. So I'm interested for you listening. Would you rather 2 months correctional facility, 2 crappy months versus a slightly crappy full year?
And some community
service. A community service. Maybe she really doesn't want to do the community service because she does not seem like a great community member.
And honestly, though, when this broke the other day, that was my first thought is... And again, this is an assumption. I don't know this woman. I don't need to. I'm perfectly fine with my community. I don't need to do that. I'll take the jail.
Yeah.
I'm not working for the community. Nope. Don't need to. Nope.
Her actual quote was when she was offered the probation and the community service is, it's not viable. I'd rather go to jail right now and take care of it.
It's not viable.
I hate this woman. If you pull back on this whole thing, it is such a commentary on white privilege and the prison system and all these, like, she is the worst human of the day.
Well, and I do not feel bad for this woman at all, but at least this is from Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and just her neighbors won't associate with her. She's received death threats, which that is bad.
That's terrible.
But she's been labeled a racist, and she's basically seen her professional reputation destroyed. But she's been indignant about this whole thing. I mean, one, she lied under oath, but also, the fact that she's not apologized.
Well, she's lied under oath. She assaulted a police officer. Apparently, like, those 2 crimes aren't I mean, 60 days in prison for battery, assaulting a police officer, and my guess they could throw resisting arrest if she need an officer in the nuggets.
Mhm.
And then also lying under oath. That's a felony. That's just a felony.
So, well, that's actually, so now that I reread this, she that trial hasn't started yet. So she's facing an additional felony charge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Of battery to a law enforcement officer. And that it stems from her arrest after the spitting incident when she kneed an officer in the groin. She's pleaded not guilty to that and is scheduled to go to trial in August.
I have a feeling, I call it a hunch, Jane and Kristen, just a hunch. Her neighbors who don't associate with her now didn't like her a whole lot beforehand.
No. Oh my God.
She doesn't seem like this is, you don't just all of a sudden.
Who spits? Come on. Who spits?
I mean,
Who spits at strangers?
I don't spit, period. I think it's gross. It's disgusting.
I am closely linked with someone who is from his track days. I've never met someone who spits as much as he does, but he does it like not in public. It's just like when we're I'm talking about Mike.
I kind of assumed.
Yeah, wow.
It's wild to me as far as, and he's like, he says it's from his track days of just like having gum and like the saliva. I was like, but you're 40.
Yeah.
Cut it out. But he's never spit on a person.
I still poop my pants because, it's back in the old days when I wore diapers. I can't help it. I did it right now. It feels great.
844-967.
Very time efficient.
2789 844-96 party. Would you rather spend 60 days in jail or a year on probation and 100 hours of community service? 844-967 party.
And the reason why I did not choose jail is because just ever reading a book on the topic, the trauma that you can go through, that you do go through being in jail. I mean, it rewires your brain. I mean, if you're in prison, even 60 days can do it to you because you are treated like you're
treated so poorly.
You're treated so poorly like an animal. Now, like I'm not putting that experience because I have no experience doing. I've never been arrested. I've never been in any sort
I've never been arrested. Jane, have you been arrested?
I have not.
Okay.
Look at us.
Knock on wood.
Look at us.
But yeah, but then the residual. So like, I guess the question is, are they saying 60 days and then there's no probation? There's no nothing after that. You don't have to register as anything.
Well, I mean, she may get more serious jail time if she gets convicted of a felony, but at least for this misdemeanor, this is what she chose.
Yeah. And with death threats notwithstanding, good. She chose her path. She took the action. She gets to pay the price. That's it. I feel no sympathy for her.
And I don't know when they say the Milwaukee County House of Correction. So it's a medium security level county jail.
Yeah.
So it's a jail.
It's a jail,
not a prison. Located in Franklin, as Jane just said. I don't know where it says, and I don't know the conditions of male versus female.
Well,
how much interaction you have with other inmates.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this is going to feel like Orange is the New Black. Is my point.
I don't think it's going to be that. Well, in Orange is the New Black, they are in a prison.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing too, is like we're so desensitized by prison movies or movies that have any sort of semblance of prison. It's like, oh, do you get your own cell? Do you have a cellmate? Are you doing this? Do you get a suit? Do you get 23 hours? Do you get 1 hour? It's all these different. Do you
get to have some steamy lesbian sex?
I wouldn't know. I've never been thrown into a women's facility. No surprises. She said, no, I don't want to do that. Ugh.
I know. But yeah, I just it's less, I care less about her. I'm happy that there's ramifications for what she did, but I just thought that was an interesting, because I feel like sometimes for like drunken disorderly conduct, I've heard of this option being laid out of like you spend 30 days in jail or X amount of days on probation and all this community service. And like just the calculus that one would go through to be like, I would rather just like short and intense and move on with my life versus having this hang over my head. And I feel like I need more information on the conditions because I could get a lot of reading done in 60 days. I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know that they just let you lay around and read.
What do you do?
But I don't know.
In the prison system, they make you work.
But it's not the prison system. It's the House of Corrections.
I mean,
even so, you would think they would have to have some kind of programs.
Yeah.
What I found on the web from the Milwaukee Women's Correctional Center, this is on Keefe Avenue. It's a 109 bed minimum security center. In the city of Milwaukee, committed to providing a safe and secure environment, placing a great emphasis on personal responsibility, trust, and maturity, and expects individuals to coexist respectfully.
Well, like 4 of those 5 things you just said, she ain't doing. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is ridiculously funny to me because it's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want. I just think of that character Pedro Pascal plays on SNL. He's like, I die. I got jail. Jail's easier. Yeah. I mean, and it's not even. It doesn't even feel like a punishment at this point. When you get a choice, I would have sentenced her to that's it. You're sentenced to a year of probation, and I'm telling you where you're going to serve your public service at the Boys and Girls Club on the North Side.
There you go.
Good luck. They will not take your guff.
All right. And on that note, when we come back, Greg's Roundup.
I'm rounding it up.
You're rounding it up with some jokes and some headlines.
I hope they're funny.
And then at 12:30, we're talking to Genevive Redsten, reporter from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, about why there is a Wisconsin housing shortage. 4 different reasons. You want to hear what they are? You got to stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Like a break in the Bible was your part. In the wretched life of a lonely heart. Now we're back on the train. Back on the chain gang.
It's time to have some fun and make a difference, Waukesha County. Attend the 2023 Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha Dream Builders Gala on June 9th at 6 p.m. in the Dominica Park neighborhood. Help celebrate the accomplishments of last year while helping to create, preserve, and promote affordable housing in our area. Enjoy an upscale barbecue, live entertainment, and the chance to make a real difference in the lives of local families. Register now at habitatwaukesha.org/events. That's habitatwaukesha.org/events. Let's build a brighter future together.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
Weather brought to you by Taqueria Miyagi, Waukesha's authentic Mexican food truck, which is now open and ready to serve you. Find us at 1610 Lincoln Avenue in the BP gas station parking lot, or call us at 262-278-6590.
Miss our conversations on air? Join the discussion on our social media channels. Find Civic Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find social media for specific shows and hosts on our website. Go to civicmedia.us.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 62. Winds out of the northeast, 10 to 20 miles an hour. Lows around 42 tonight, partly cloudy skies. Mainly sunny skies and calm tomorrow, highs around 61. Mainly sunny skies and calm Friday with highs around 69. 73 Saturday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 61 degrees.
So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home sweet home, I want to give you a kiss. I've been in Paris meeting lots of different ladies. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this. There's a letter on my desk.
Well, welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And it's that time on a Wednesday, hump day, Greg Bach day, for Greg's weekly roundup of headlines we may have not covered.
All the news you missed. Well, actually, 5 headlines you may have read but skipped altogether. It's Greg's weekly roundup.
Weekly roundup.
Let's start with a story coming out of Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis announced that he is running for president, and he did it with Elon Musk. on Twitter, which answers the question, yes, Twitter can get worse. Let's see here. Soon to be former Twitter CEO Elon Musk plans to sell red check marks for DeSantis' campaign while still trying to convince the world he's a moderate rather than a real-life Bond villain. Now, I'm looking at your face right now, and you're thinking to yourself, is he really going to do that? He's not, but you had no idea.
I was going to say, I did not hear about a red check mark.
You should call Elon. He could use some ideas.
So you just made that up entirely?
I just made that up entirely. Oh, I'm a sneaky fella.
And I believe the announcement is happening tonight.
Oh, tonight? Oh, who cares? All right, let's see here. Entertainment news. ABC has rolled out a fall season, which it's calling strike-proof in the face of the current WGA strike, soon to possibly be the SAG-AFTRA strike as well, as their voting closes next week. And it looks like they're going to strike along with the writers. But shows in this quote-unquote strike-proof season include Dancing with the Stars, Dancing with the Camera Operators, and a 3-hour program called America's Funniest $100,000 Shark Tank Pyramid of Bachelors. Can't wait to see it.
So is it all just, it's just all reality TV?
It's all reality TV, all unscripted, all reality. And then they'll have certain blocks of reruns they're going to do as well. Like they specifically said Abbott Elementary, which I feel like was a dig because Quinta Brunson is
a writer first, right?
Oh, queen to me. Yeah. Writer, performer, but like is like the darling of network comedy because that show is so smart and so funny. It's won so many awards. They're like, yeah, we're going to run Abbott Elementary. I'm sure she's probably like, I hate all of you.
Yeah. Well, and they're like, take that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, look forward to DVR in that one or recording on my VHS tapes.
Right as Netflix, we'll talk about this later, but like this is happening right as Netflix is going to start charging as of today for that extra user. No more sharing passwords.
Oh, wow.
I got no problem with that. My family might. All right, moving on.
Wait, do you have any updates on Robin Voss for us?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me see here. Just going to flip through it. Yep. He sucks. Moving on. A Massachusetts father and son were sentenced in federal court on Monday for a scheme that saw the pair illegally claim more than $20 million in lottery winnings and then lie on their tax returns to dodge more than $6 million in federal taxes. Mohammed and Ali Jafar now realize they would have gotten away with defrauding the government if their last name was Amazon.
Wait, so retail? So they won the lottery.
No, they didn't. So here's what they did was they paid winners for their lottery tickets.
Okay.
And they took the money and then the people, if I explain this correctly, they paid. So if you won the lottery, they would contact and be like, hey, I'll give you money for that winning lottery ticket. And in a way to get away from the taxes for yourself and also putting yourself out there, getting your identity known, you sold them your ticket for a less amount. They then took those lottery tickets and claimed the winnings and then defrauded the taxes on it too. I don't know the full thing. I saw it on CNN.
It was very convoluted.
It's very convoluted, and it seems like it costs at the end of the day way more than what they had won because they had to get people like at the gas station in on this. They had to get people in the lottery committee. Like they had to have a network of people. And at one point, you're like, the fish has been torn away by the water. It's not even worth it anymore.
I've never heard that metaphor before.
This is the old man on the sea. He puts the fish on the side of the boat. By the time he gets to the land, all the other animals have chipped away and he's got a skeleton.
Oh.
Greg's Roundup in Literature reviews.
All right, what else you got?
Read a book. All right, let's see here. Stephen Marcus is stepping down as board chair at Milwaukee-based hotel and cinema operators Marcus Corp. And will be succeeded by his son, Greg Marcus, who has served more than 30 years in that. Stephen has served more than 30 years in that role. And Greg has been appointed the new director chairman. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm reading this incorrectly. Greg Marcus will be serving as chief operating officer, president, and board chair. And I'm hoping that this new responsibility will mean he no longer has time to make those stupid commercials before movies. Because frankly, I can't tell if he's affable or crazy, but my money is on crazy. So
what do you think what's a more watchable commercial? AMC and Nicole Kidman, or Dave Marcus,
Greg
Marcus.
I would rather watch Greg Marcus.
Okay,
because at least with Greg Marcus, I'm like,
there's facial movement.
There's facial movement. There's a wanting to be connecting to the audience, and I do think he loves movies. I think he seems like a genuinely happy guy. Like, of course, he's a multimillionaire, so who wouldn't be happy then? But you're also, when you look at those CEOs, you're like, what kind of dead-eyed, horrible things do you do when we're not looking that you think is normal? You drink blood, don't you? But yeah, so there's that one. Let's see here. Hey, Summerfest fans, are you clamoring to find out whether or not Jimmy Buffett is going to be playing at the big gig this year? Me either. I really only brought this up to tell you that to everyone who's listening, that Jimmy Buffett is worth $1 billion.
Is that because of his restaurants?
It's because of the restaurants, and the man has written one song I've heard and the other one about cheeseburger, and he is worth more than Paul McCartney or Dr. Dre. Are you serious?
He's worth more than Dr. Dre?
Dr. Dre is he's not even a bill. No, he's
a billionaire from Beats?
No, he's, I said worth as much as Paul McCartney.
Oh, I said more than.
But even Dr. Dre isn't fully a billionaire yet. He's not that. We're done. I guess oh man, I had one more story. But
we have more show left.
Yeah,
you can sneak it in later. All right, when we come back, Genevieve Redsten will be here from Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel to talk about what has led to the housing shortage. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Think of something to say. I'm already on my way to get to the bottom of this. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr. Jefferson and Hamilton. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home, sir. You've been all day. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home, sir. You've been all day.
Whether you're headed down Les Paul Parkway or fighting traffic on the interstates, this is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News brief. House Speaker McCarthy speaking as debt ceiling negotiators return to work in Washington.
We're not going to default. We're going to solve this problem. I will stay with it until we can get it done.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will use a Twitter appearance later on today to get into the Republican race for president.
DeSantis' allies say he'll play up his combative politics alongside the tech billionaire, casting himself as a fellow culture warrior on a platform his biggest rival embraced as president.
Well, CBS's Robert Costa says he has been far behind former President Trump in early polling. Reporter Chris Fox in Uvalde, Texas, 1 year after the school massacre.
A coalition of families of the victims called Lives Robbed will first host a private event at the Uvalde Civic Center. Large crowds are expected for the public vigil that's set for the Memorial Park Amphitheater and will be followed by a butterfly release.
It's a down day on Wall Street. CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
Local radio for your community. Civic Media broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson is pleading with the State Senate Committee not to make local leaders go to referendum to raise city and county sales taxes.
Common Council members are close to the communities they represent and can make informed and timely decisions on behalf of their constituents. A referendum, though, adds a significant element of uncertainty.
The Republican leaders of the Assembly and Senate disagree over the Milwaukee referendum requirement. A police dog in southwest Wisconsin is dead and its former handler is out of a job. Colt was a Monroe County canine officer and died of heat exhaustion after being locked in a hot car last week. Detective Alex Moss has quit the department. In sports, the Brewers blanked Houston last night 6-0. The rubber matches this afternoon. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Images, we all have them.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo Switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Join the conversation with your favorite hosts or shows anytime. Follow Civic Media.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. He is Greg Bach. And if you haven't heard, Wisconsin's in a housing shortage. We talked a little bit yesterday about the bills that have been introduced to try to mitigate that. But before those bills were introduced earlier this month in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, there was a little bit of a deep dive as far as why we are in this mess, as far as Wisconsin not having enough housing. So here to talk about the article that you wrote is Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel real estate reporter Genevive Redsten. How you doing, Genevieve?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you. So as far as this, as reading your article and what you found, basically this can be pinpointed back to like 2008 as far as kind of being the starting point for all of this.
Yeah, definitely. That's really when things started to go downhill in the construction business in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's households kept growing. The population of the state grew, and we didn't build enough houses to accommodate all those new households and people.
And so when we're talking, so households, when you refer to households in your article, it's always those are the families. Those are the people who are looking, who need a unit to live in. And so that could be one person, that could be a family, right?
Yeah, exactly. I live in a studio apartment. It's just me. I count as my own household. And so sometimes this is a question that comes up often because Milwaukee's population is shrinking. But if you look around town in Milwaukee, you see all these cranes, you see apartments going up. So people often ask, wait a minute, if Milwaukee is shrinking, what's up with all the new housing? And the answer is people are living in smaller households. There are far more singles and couples who need a place to live than there used to be when people had large families, but all piled into one home.
And that is really interesting because I feel like on the, like, as you just said, across Wisconsin, even with moderate population growth, we need more people. There's a labor shortage, all this stuff, but all at the same time, even with the moderate or declining population growth we've had in different parts of the state, there's still not enough housing.
Yeah, almost all the household growth in the last decade has been among singles and couples.
Wow. Okay. And so in your article, you identify basically the 4 key ways that housing has changed since 2008. So I figured we could kind of just take each one and you could go give us a little deeper dive on each one. So the first one was land development slowed.
Yeah, definitely. So the big picture is, like I said, we just didn't build enough houses, but it's also about the kind of homes that we built. So Daphne Chen, who's the data reporter, and I, we took a look first at land, because something I've been hearing from a lot of developers is it's not nearly as easy to finance subdivision projects this decade as it was in the decade leading up to the crash. So when a developer is building a new neighborhood, taking undeveloped land, paving roads, installing sewage lines, turning it into a neighborhood, when they create a new lot, typically that is certified by the Wisconsin Department of Administration. And in the mid 90s and early 2000s, land development in Wisconsin was going gangbusters. And you can see that in the DOA data that shows, in 2003, 2004, 2005, the peak of Wisconsin's housing boom, developers were creating tons of new lots, more than 20,000 a year. Not all of these became single family homes. Some were, spec development. Others were commercial lots, but a lot of these became single family homes that people ended up living in. And then when the market went belly up, that development virtually ground to a halt. In 2010, just 1,283 new lots were certified by the DOA.
Wow.
So in the years since, it's become a lot harder to develop new residential neighborhoods on empty lots. The housing market recovered, but land development really didn't. That's because labor and material costs have risen a lot. Developers will also add that they think that neighbors and local governments put up too many obstacles. And so you don't have these new residential neighborhoods cropping up, making way for the next wave of families.
So it's basically it's not even just, it was the cost, but it was also the NIMBYism a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what developers would say, although I think some local leaders may disagree. Yeah.
Would say different things, yes. All right, so then the second reason was single family construction plummeted while multifamily took off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that kind of goes along with the decline in new subdivisions, but it became a lot harder to build single family homes. And so what really did take off in the 2010s was multifamily. So developers were building a lot more apartments, especially in urban centers like Milwaukee and Dane County. And so a lot of the new construction that you do see, especially, like me, if you live in Milwaukee, you'll see a lot of apartments going up. You won't see nearly as much single family home construction.
And so is that it's tied into the other thing as far as, because like with new, the house takes up more space than building up versus building out, right?
Yeah.
And so the ability to focus on an apartment building, especially in congested, you get to Southeast Wisconsin, there's not that many open lots left anyways, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it depends. There's definitely some space, in Waukesha County, the suburbs within Milwaukee County. There's definitely developable land there. But the economics are such that it just has made sense for developers to really focus on multifamily. And the single family market just hasn't been there in the way that it was in the previous decade. So you've seen this really drastic slowdown in single family home construction.
We're talking to Genevive Redsten, who is a business reporter covering real estate for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, about how and why construction and home ownership has slowed over the last 15 years in Wisconsin. And so the third reason you identified was home ownership fell, and yet home prices have been rising.
Yeah, so, it's interesting. A lot of these trends in the last decade didn't become quite so noticeable until the pandemic. And that's because a lot of people were renting in that decade. A lot of people lost their homes or lost economic opportunities in the Great Recession. And so you had a lot more people in the rental market. And Wisconsin's home ownership rate, bottomed out in 2019, just before the pandemic. In 2019, Wisconsin's home ownership rate was 66%. And then came the pandemic. We were in this crazy, unprecedented economic moment. The Federal Reserve slashed interest rates. So suddenly people could get really cheap mortgages. And a lot of millennials who had delayed home ownership longer than their parents decided that they wanted to take advantage of this moment. Many people were working from home, spending more time inside. Maybe they wanted that extra bedroom or a little bit more yard space. And many people were starting families and decided now is the time. Now is when I would like to go buy a home. And so you have this big surge in demand, especially for single family homes, which we hadn't been building in the numbers that we had been previously for about a decade. And so Wisconsin's homeownership rate rose really dramatically during the course of the pandemic. In 2022, the state's homeownership rate hit 70% compared to the 66% in 2019. So that's a pretty drastic change in just a few years. And so the surge in demand, especially for a specific kind of home, for owner-occupied, single-family homes, has really driven up costs because you just have a lot of people competing for a small supply of inventory.
And that is definitely, I feel like the anecdotes of my sister-in-law has been trying to, well, she is closing in a house, but like it sounded like New York in certain places of like showing up and like 35 people put in an offer. And this is for, like the under 500,000 suburbs of Milwaukee and and you having to go $40,000 over asking price and no inspection and
no those are the things that really bothered me, because I was like, I can't walk into an open house and be like, here's your asking price plus a bucket of cash, because I don't have that kind of money. Most people don't, but that felt like what you needed. And the fact that we even got a home last year was insanity to me. It worked. But I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like now versus even last year, because I have friends who've just given up. They're like, nope, I'm just going to rent for another how many other years, because they just can't see themselves ever being able to afford a house.
And I implore people, don't not get an inspection.
Oh,
that's a terrible idea.
That seems like it should be illegal. Like an inspection should have to happen.
Not a negotiating chip.
Yeah, and the other thing too is people will forego not inspections but the appraisals too.
Yeah.
I mean, they just want a house, and I've seen a couple of my friends really step in the muck because of those decisions. And to me, I'm like, no, those are non-starters. Those are non-starters to me.
And it especially puts first-time home buyers in a bind, because they're likely to be financing more of this purchase. They haven't built up the home equity. They can't make these all cash offers. And so, interestingly enough, you often see millennials and baby boomers in these bidding wars. And baby boomers have been homeowners for much longer. And so they have the upper hand. And so you have, kids and their parents vying for the same houses.
Yeah.
And often millennials are losing out in that process.
And are you saying, is it baby boomers because they're downsizing? So they're buying, because I would also remember, and maybe this is in the last point as far as developers focusing on building rentals, because I remember, I think last fall, and maybe it was your article, as far as in Milwaukee, they're not building condos. Like, and like a natural step for baby boomers to downsize and move into Milwaukee to live in a condo
or a townhouse.
Or a townhouse, but they're not building those. And so to downsize, they're now competing with first time homeowners or buyers that don't need a big house. And so is that where the competition and the conflict is coming from?
Yeah. I hear that often from realtors, from people both buying and selling their homes. And I think millennials, especially those who missed out on the low interest rates in the early years of the pandemic, are really feeling like, they're in a bind. Home prices continue to rise in Wisconsin because there's such a limited supply. And now people who might want to move are really reluctant to list their homes. I think the Wall Street Journal called it golden handcuffs. You have this great interest rate. It's really unlikely you're going to get anything like that anytime soon. And so even if you'd like a different place or a different location, you don't want to give that up. And so it's a real bottleneck, and it's just driving up prices even as interest rates are much higher than they were, a year or 2 years ago.
Like for my husband and I, and we're both in our 60s, our house is paid off. And so
brag.
But the thought of wanting to go to even a condo or a townhouse, and if the cash price from the house isn't going to cover that, I don't want another mortgage with
rent. You don't want to pay $3,000 in rent every month,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for the last, go ahead, Genevieve.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to put with the couple minutes we have left, I want to make sure we get to the developers that focused more on building rentals as your fourth point.
Yeah. So what we did was we looked at the housing stock in Wisconsin's urban counties. We looked at Brown County, Dane County, Milwaukee County, and Waukesha County. And we looked at homes that were built in the decade of the housing boom, so 2000 to 2009. and then homes built in the wake of the crash, so 2010 to 2019. And what we found was the homes built in the 2000s are much more likely to be owner occupied than the homes built in the 2010s. And that's because there were a lot more renters after the Great Recession, and developers realized that it was good business. And so developers have really focused on building rentals. And so there are fewer options, especially you brought up condos. That was something I wrote about earlier this year.
That was your article. Okay.
Yeah. It's just, it makes more sense financially for developers to focus on building rentals. And it really makes the competition for, single family homes or condos really fierce.
And so we only have 1 minute left, but I want to sneak this question in. So with the package of bills that was introduced this week, from the many conversations you've had with developers, and this is your beat. And so do you feel like on at least face value, those are bills that could address the problems that you've been surfacing?
Yeah, I think that they're designed to address some of the financing concerns that developers have. With high interest rates now, it's really hard to bring these projects over the finish line. But I also think that a lot of developers would say they didn't go far enough. They were hoping for more action against NIMBYism that they didn't get. But I do think a lot of people think it's a promising first step.
Got it. All right. Well, Genevieve Redsten, we'll have to have you back. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thanks so much.
All right. We'll be back in just a minute. This is As Goes Wisconsin. Goes Wisconsin.
Upon a ball, I'll beat the world on my feet. Get every discotheque and ask it for me.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And he is Greg Bach. And Greg's a soccer fan.
I am.
Are you excited that Milwaukee's getting a soccer team?
I am only upset about one thing. It's not happening sooner.
It's 2025?
Yeah. It's dumb.
Do you hear that Madison's getting a women's soccer team?
I love it.
Soccer,
I love
Wisconsin.
and I want to just start calling it football.
You think that'll fly?
I don't care. I love
football.
I love football is life.
Football is life. But yeah, so we talked about this last summer when they announced that they were going to have crowdsourcing, like people get to vote on what the name is. So
Yeah.
last summer it was tons of people submitted names. What did you say? The Milwaukee Kickers? You had something that was pretty funny.
I think it was something. It was a long name. I don't remember. That was a long time ago, my friend.
It was also a long time ago. Many jokes ago.
Yeah.
But they got more than 4,000 suggestions.
Oh, that's good.
And now they've narrowed it down to 64.
Yep.
And they're now doing the classic bracket, head to head, and letting people vote between this name versus that name until we get down to the last two, and then by voting proxy, we will have a name, because right now it's just Milwaukee Pro Soccer is the
welcome to Milwaukee Soccer Team.
That lacks a little panache.
It's kind of like the Washington Football Team.
Yeah.
Did they pick a name yet?
They do. They're the
Commanders.
That's a dumb name.
Yeah.
Same with Cleveland's new name, the Guardians.
Oh, is that Cleveland's new name?
Yeah, it's their new, and it's not
Guardians?
even named after like the Guardians of like freedom.
The
or, like,
Galaxy?
It's Guardians for Traffic. I'm not even kidding you. Look it up. It's named after two statues that are at a bridge. It's dumb.
Oh, okay.
Statues are pretty cool though.
The statues are cool, but the name is dumb.
All right. So they will be. So they're basically have already gone through. I think they've posted 6 so far. So you can vote on www.milwaukeeprosoccer.com/name the club.
Yep.
And so I just figured we would go through, and through majority wins, since there's 3 of us.
All right.
So match 1, Milwaukee Tall Boys or Milwaukee Confluence.
I'd rather say the Milwaukee Tall Boys.
I say Tall Boys.
What's a confluent? Like
That's where the rivers meet. That's where the waters meet.
whatever.
Right, geologist.
Whatever
I'm
college.
going with confluence.
I'm going with Tall Boys.
I'm going with Tall Boys. Sorry, Jane.
Okay.
Match number 2, Milwaukee Barons, Milwaukee Cheese.
Barons. There's no way I'm voting for
Just the
cheese.
Milwaukee Cheese is
That's just the bad.
the cheese head.
The
Yeah.
reviews write themselves at that point.
Yeah.
The sharp cheddars.
And imagine
You should have submitted
The
that.
Milwaukee sharp cheddars.
and imagine the
I'm telling
cross
you.
promotion with Charlie, where it could be the Milwaukee Barons for like one game, and he's like, "Come on now, I'm just
You're just
Milwaukee Pro
writing,
Soccer.
just writing
Hire
more
me
brand deals
Yep,
for him.
That's what I'm doing, baby.
What's your vote?
Milwaukee cheese.
Well, are you just?
I'm doing Milwaukee Barons.
I don't care. I'm just.
Oh, you're just.
what I
She's doing
think.
her.
She's
Doing
my
her
own
thing.
Okay.
Okay. So then, match number 3, Lake Effect versus Milwaukee Wings.
Neither of those are good. Well, Lake Effect, I think of radio when I hear that.
Mhm.
So just welcome to Milwaukee Pro Soccer, the Lake Effect.
But also, how are Wings associated with Milwaukee in
I mean,
any
we
way?
have-
Calatrava. It's the Calatrava.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at
so you're
Jane
pretty,
knowing.
Jane. You're really good at this Milwaukee trivia. It's like you've lived here your whole life or something.
Odd.
All
going
right,
with
with the
Wings.
Calatrava, I think I go with
Yeah,
Wings.
me too. Yeah,
All
I
right.
go with yeah.
Match number 4, Milwaukee Alliance versus Milwaukee Masons.
I'm going Alliance because I ain't giving a dime to the Secrets Society.
Society, the
weirdos.
Masonry.
I've read the Da Vinci Code. Milwaukee Alliance just sounds cool. It sounds unifying and for me. So
Thoughts, Jane?
I don't like either of those. I'm going with the sharp cheddars. I'm entering my own.
Got it.
Oh wow.
All right, I will also put Milwaukee Alliance, and then we got 2 more for at least from now. Milwaukee Union versus Milwaukee Brigade.
I don't really like.
You had to
either of
think, what were
those.
the other
We're the losers.
3,900 there's 38,
The fart
36.
knockers.
The Fuddruckers?
The fart knockers.
Fart knockers. Milwaukee Union versus Milwaukee Brigade.
I would go Milwaukee Union.
I would agree with Greg.
Okay. Doesn't matter. I was gonna say Brigade, but I don't. I'm not gonna die on that hill. All right, and then the last one, at least for now, Milwaukee Ride versus Future Milwaukee.
Both of those are dumb too.
Oh, those are terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Milwaukee Ride makes me think of Milwaukee
Harley.
Wave a little
It's
bit.
Harley.
Oh, it's Harley.
It's
Yeah,
Harley.
Exactly. Which,
And Future Milwaukee just sounds like a rapper who's going to get sued by Future.
So I feel like out of the 12 that have been released so far, I'm going to name all of them. It's not how the voting goes, but at least for today, which is your favorite? I'm going to read all of them again. Milwaukee Tall Boys, Milwaukee Confluence, Milwaukee Barons, Milwaukee Cheese, Lake Effect, Milwaukee Wings, Milwaukee Alliance, Milwaukee Masons, Milwaukee Union, Milwaukee Brigade, Milwaukee Ride, Future Milwaukee.
God.
It's a lot. I know which mine is.
I do too.
I do too. Milwaukee Alliance. I like that.
Okay.
Milwaukee Wings.
Okay.
I like the tall voice. What does that say about me?
That you really miss drinking since you got pregnant.
I just want a beer. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm interested. I would love to see the list, as we said, of the names that didn't make the cut to be voted on, because some of these are
I like
suspect.
Someone wrote the Kia Boys and Milwaukee Pro Soccer coach. He said, quote tweeted it and said, "There's always one." Yeah, I'd love to see the losers.
I would love to see the really clever losers that they're like, no, we can't.
We
actually
want.
they're funny.
Yeah.
We laugh,
but we couldn't.
But we can't. All right. Well, we are going to take a break for the top of the hour news. But coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about the beer wars and why these beer companies feel like they need to appeal to anyone's political leanings whatsoever, because it's just ridiculous. And then we're going to talk about wild parsnips.
I'm so excited.
This is your story. And so I'm going to let you take the lead when we talk to our guests, Jason Granberg and Mackenzie Manicki.
Oh, we have another guest.
We have guests, and they're going to tell us about why parsnips are dangerous.
I found
more dangerous than poison ivy, I guess.
It's really interesting.
I thought you could eat parsnips.
Well, we'll get into that.
We'll get into it.
And
So-
I found a special song.
Oh, of course you did. All right, stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Steve Kathan. Debt ceiling negotiators back at work in Washington, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says,
I think we can make progress today. I'm hoping that we can make progress.
But California Democrat Pete Aguiar warns
House Democrats are not going to sign on to devastating cuts for teachers, food assistance, or Medicaid.
The CBS's Jill Schlesinger says if the nation plunges into default as soon as next week, it could have major consequences for millions of people who rely on government benefits.
It's probably not going to last too long if we do hit that breaching moment, but for a week or two, you really do need to fall back on emergency savings. If you don't have it, Take a deep breath. This will get corrected quickly.
Reporter Chris Fox is in Uvalde, Texas today, 1 year after the deadly school massacre.
A private memorial for the victims' families will be held this afternoon at the Uvalde Civic Center. This is where a year ago, law enforcement first told the families that their loved ones did not survive. A public vigil is set for 7:30 at the Memorial Park Amphitheater. That's followed by a butterfly release.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis gets into the Republican presidential race later today. CBS's Robert Costa.
DeSantis' team is confident that he can build momentum in the coming weeks. He will be meeting with his donors in Miami in the coming days before a formal campaign launch sometime in the coming weeks, and then a trip to those early voting states.
Texas Republicans investigating GOP State Attorney General Ken Paxton say he tried to hide an affair, misused his office to help a donor, skirted protocols, and built a culture of fear and retaliation in his office. A new legal tangle today for a former attorney already behind bars for murder.
Alex Murdaugh has been indicted by a federal grand jury on more than a dozen bank fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering charges. Prosecutors say the 54-year-old former personal injury lawyer allegedly took money and property from his clients 3 times. Murdaugh is serving 2 life sentences for the fatal shootings of his 52-year-old wife and a 22-year-old son. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
It was one of the moments during the Biden inaugural.
Even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped that.
Young Amanda Gorman reciting her poem, The Hill We Climb. It's been pulled from a Miami elementary school after a parent complained it's not educational and, quote, contains hate messages. On social media, she says she's gutted by that decision. Nevada's governor says there's a deal in place for financial incentives to help the Oakland Athletics build a ballpark there. Right now on Wall Street, Dow is down 255. This is CBS News.
Find your next great hire with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Natnair. Here's what you need to know. The Milwaukee Bucks may be closer to signing a new head coach. ESPN reporting the team has interviewed 15 candidates and narrowed the choice down to 3. Ex-Toronto coach Nick Nurse, Golden State Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, and Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin. The Phoenix Suns, Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, and Detroit Pistons are all on the lookout for a new coach. Gas prices down nearly $1 compared to last year. That's good news if you'll be hitting the roads for the long Memorial Day weekend. AAA expects 800,000 Wisconsinites to head out of town, with the vast majority opting to drive. AAA booking data also shows airfares to top spots are up 40% from this time last year. I'm Jane Natnair. This is Civic Media News.
Images are everywhere, on iPads, cell phones, or the cloud. In fact, everywhere but where you can find them. Mike Crivello Camera and Imaging Center has the solution to this problem. They're called pictures, and we print them right from our website. And you order them online at MikeCrivellos.com. And they look magnificent in your photo album.
Mike Crivello's world is a wonderful world of camera.
It's not a picture till it's printed.
Consumers everywhere are loving the benefits of buying locally produced food. Not only is it fresher and more nutritious, it's also good for the local economy. With state-of-the-art facilities throughout the Midwest, the Village Hearth buns you already love are baked and delivered fresh daily to your local grocer. So whether you like unsliced old-fashioned hamburger and hot dog buns or prefer classic white or wheat, just look for the familiar red Village Hearth logo on the package and you've made the right choice. Village Hearth buns, locally baked and delivered fresh daily.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at Civic Media.
Welcome to the 1 o'clock no sour haha funny hour. We are back on the no sour haha funny power hour. What is it, Greg?
The no sour fun time haha power hour.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Hello, Wisconsin. Yes, indeed. Welcome to the No Sour Haha Fun Time Power Hour, of which there's not many left. Womp womp.
That did not sound like a sympathetic womp womp. That sounded more like a haha, you're done womp womp.
No,
yeah,
not
it felt like it.
We like it. If we didn't like it, we wouldn't be doing it for the last couple months.
It was the first thing to be axed.
Well, it's just, I don't know. So if you missed yesterday's show, we're talking about this. I think all the shows are talking about this. We're having a little bit of a shake-up. Rearrangement of the Civic Media schedule as we welcome new local shows to some of the different local stations. We switch everyone who had a 3-hour show is going to a 2-hour show. It's better for podcasts. It's better just for consistency across all the shows. And for our show in particular, it means we are moving from we're going to start at 10 instead of 11, and we will be done at 12 instead of 2. And so as we were talking about how to condense 3 hours into 2 hours,
starting to tear up.
The no sour haha fun time hour is now going to be like
didn't even say right.
a half hour.
No, don't even. If you can't give it a full hour, don't even.
30 minutes of no sour haha fun time power.
Because here's the thing, Jane. Here's the thing, Kristen. I see what's going on here. All right. I see through the lies. You start at half an hour, then it turns into the 15-minute, then it turns into half a segment. Then it's just gone.
Then it's just a game.
Then it's not even no, this is not a game.
This is not a game. We're talking about practice, not the game. Not the game that I love. We're talking about practice.
And I'm a company man, all right? You understand me? I'm a company man. I understand the moves. But what I don't understand is why you want to axe it with such impunity that you don't even care that it's going away.
We do care that it's going away. Actually, we got a comment yesterday on the live stream that said,
Our friend
Changerous said, he's like, does that mean no more fun hour?
Yeah, Changerous, guess what?
But now we just have to put fun throughout the entire show.
Nothing's fun anymore. It's non-fun. It is the non-fun, ho-hum, salty time.
Great.
Pirate.
I'm so glad, Greg, you don't take things personally.
Whatever, Jane.
Not a sensitive soul at all.
I got the soul of a worn trucker.
But so you only have one more next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
will be your last no sour haha fun time power hour. But you will still be here on Wednesdays.
If you'll have me,
we will definitely have you.
Of course. Oh yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to do. At the noon hour, I'm just going to get on my phone. I'll give my number out, and while you're all done, I'm just going to allow people to call in. We'll group chat it, and I'll just talk for like an hour.
Just go start a Discord channel and see who joins.
Totally. I mean, let's see how this goes. This is how Joe Rogan started, right? Joe Rogan started like that way.
Totally.
Just giving out his phone number to people and call in.
Chatting.
Yeah, and then he totally said some cool things, right? He's
totally
a totally cool guy. You see, I'm an innovator. No difference is a difference. Don't even start with me. Don't even start with me.
Is there a different way to pronounce innovator?
No, it's just innovator. You're thinking of innovative. Jerk. I'm just saying here, I will mourn next week. I will wear all black. I will come.
I hope it's really hot.
I look hot in black. Let me tell you.
I actually checked the forecast. It's going to be. We were in it for a beautiful stretch.
I wear a black hat.
Okay.
It's going to be in the 80s.
Oh God.
Is that hot for you?
Dude, look at me. I'm made.
You're made for winter.
I am made of like insulation. Like if you were doing an autopsy on me, it would be like, is that cake? No, it's attic insulation inside of him, which I actually have a joke about in my stand-up. But point is, Yeah, no, I will be sad, but you know what? I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Jane. I'm happy for the show. I'm happy for everybody because I think 2 hours will be perfect, especially just from my point of view. These last few weeks, those first hours we've been doing, been real fun.
Real fun.
Yep, getting good engagement with people. I think that's going to help y'all. But I know we can talk about this off air.
So we're excited. We're excited about the time change. We're excited about the schedule changes. So as you're listening to your favorite shows, nothing's going away. So it just may be in a different
getting shifted
around as far as when things are starting, when things are ending. Some things are going to the morning, some things are going in the afternoon. But that is all officially happening June 5th. So until then, programming per usual. All right.
Yeah.
My question, Jane, you can't answer this because you're not a beer drinker.
All right.
No, not at all.
No.
Oh.
Buttery Chardonnay.
I should get that as my license plate.
Next to Danger. Was it Danger Lady Jane or is it Buttery Chardonnay?
Oh, it's a tough call between the two of those.
But so is there anyone out there, is there anyone out there who has changed their watery light beer drinking habits since, I guess, in general, but I mean, obviously in reaction to the Bud Light controversy?
I mean, Kid Rock definitely knew how to shoot up a case of beer.
He missed 3 times.
I know.
But, and I'm not saying if you're saying I'm not buying it now, or you're saying I am buying it to support them, but there's also, because there's 2 different articles I found in the last week. One was from Vox, one was from Vice. The Vice one is the beer ad culture war is killing me inside. And then the Vox one is, have all the beers gone woke? Investigation. Because apparently, and I didn't see this, even before the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light commercials came out, Miller Lite had done something for Women's History Month as far as a campaign. It was Alana Glazer, who is a comedian, actress. She was in Broad City. And it was basically a campaign around taking old beer ads where women were in bikinis, composting those ads, then like selling them as fertilizer to like grow the hops that then they will use by female beer makers. Like it was very
convoluted. Yeah.
And so then there was some right-wing people who got upset about that and like supporting women. And I just, in general, like, it obviously is working because while I'm not sure Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch is going broke, sales are down. As I said yesterday, I have a friend who works for Pabst and my friends who work for Miller who've said sales have been up. So certainly this is a protest that has been lasting. So there are people out there who are holding to their guns and like expect these corporations to be your political ally when they are very much not. And is there anyone who can attest to either this influencing you on what kind of light beer you buy? 844-967-2789. I would just, if it has, I would love to hear the reason. Cause like for me, I'm not going to do anything because I don't think the baby wants Miller Lite, but
they want a craft beer.
They want a craft beer. They want a craft what is it? River West Stein.
River West Stein, Eastside Dark, and Extended Play, all available.
Extended Play. They're all very good.
All available.
But it's interesting to me how many people are like, because now that we're entering Pride Month, all the corporations are going to get super pridey and sell stuff. And Target's been doing this for years, but even them are kind of getting bullied into taking things down. And so it's just like, but I think this like illusion, and we kind of talked about it yesterday of like brands that we trust and the reputational score, but also like, I don't know, does people really believe that the companies that they buy stuff from believe in what their marketing campaigns say? And that they're like your friend and your ally versus like just doing whatever they can to sell you more stuff?
I think that some people do. I think some people just, like the thing with Target we were talking about before off air, Target has always had a history of doing Pride Month clothing, that kind of stuff. But they are a company that is given heavily to Republican candidates in Minnesota.
Totally.
very anti-LGBTQ candidates they've done in the past. So I don't know if it's a matter of like, I can go to Target. I don't have to go to Walmart, or I can buy Pride stuff there, but don't make me face the reality. I mean, the fact of this, they're corporations, they're billion-dollar corporations. They will do whatever it takes to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They do not care even about their own employees' opinions, most likely. If it gets to the bottom line, they'll either do it or not do it. And individuals who are fooling themselves into thinking that Miller Lite or Bud Light or whatever, that's just what they are. They're fools. I mean,
well, and this is because this is from the Vox article, and I thought this was poignant. So, in exactly what you said, because same thing with Anheuser-Busch and then the beer companies, like basically Miller Lite, Molson Coors and Anheuser-Busch basically own almost all of the beer you're going to ever drink
pretty much
in the US.
Yep.
And it's basically craft breweries that haven't been bought up by them yet. And that's it. And so, but it's like, so on the one hand, they have these marketing campaigns that are like progressive or woke or whatever. But as you said, the way that they donate, the way that the bills that they're lobbying for certainly lean a different way. And so this is quoting from the Vox article. It's almost like beer companies do not have a consistent, coherent set of morals and values consumers should look to for cues on what to buy. The same goes for all companies. For that matter, corporations are not your friends, let alone your political allies. Think of it this way. Whatever your political inclinations, the beers are the drinking buddies you suspect don't really have your best interest at heart when they suggest you order one more beer at the bar before you head home. They've been putting all the rounds on your tab and are drinking with the other guy at the bar who really irks you. I was like, that's a good analogy.
That's a great analogy. I mean, this is what it comes down to. None of these companies, none of them, I don't care if it's beer, I don't care if it's clothes, I don't care what it is. If they are a multi-million-dollar company, they don't care about you. They just don't.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it.
So I'm interested to hear from you if any of this controversy has changed your purchasing habits in the last bit, as far as makes you want to buy it more, wants to make you buy it less. 844-967-2789. We will take your calls and your texts when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
You said it all. Here comes the king of beer, so lift your glass, let's hear the call. Budweiser beer's the one that's leading the rest. When you say Bud and Beechwood aging makes it beer at its best. When you saints and football teams have torn this boy apart. Like a neon dream, it just dawned on me. The bars in this guitar and long neck ice cold beer never broke my heart.
Oh,
That is
Sorry.
exasperation.
sorry. Go on. I apologize.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I'm Kristen Bride. That was Greg Bach, and of course we have Jane Matnair. And we were talking about. I'm looking for someone to tell me that the ads or the influence marketing that has happened with the beer companies over the last I guess this year alone has influenced your purchasing habits, because it clearly there's people out there who it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I just would like to ask, like, what did you really think that they had your back before they did this? Did you really think that they were like represented your identity?
But don't you think part of it too is just whether or not they believe what they're selling, whether or not I believe they're on my side? I just don't like them, and I'm not going to shop there. I don't like their politics. I don't like this. I don't like the handling of this. As opposed to, I don't know that we really trust companies that much. It's more about, this is the only way that I can do something
Yeah.
about it. 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY from the 608. Not Budweiser. There are definitely stores, products in Wisconsin I try to avoid and not buy from because of their political contributions. See the WMC list for more details. My big battle is if I keep getting Founders beer, which is so good, but has had some bad employee relations.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I want to go look up this WMC Wisconsin list. Yeah.
Yeah.
The membership. Yeah, I don't. It's just because I feel like, because the thing that's funny about Bud Light right now is like it is on sale. So if you really have no political inclinations, as far as, or you're not taking this personally, you can get a good deal right now.
Well, and see that also brings up the question I always have about when there's a societal momentary outrage, which is all these individuals who are blowing up cans and shooting cans and going on their Twitters and their Facebooks saying all sorts of things about stuff they know nothing about. When will it wane where they're going to be at a party in a backyard and there's nothing but Bud Light, and they're going to look at it and go, nope, can't do it. And they're going to be like, I really want a beer. Like eventually they'll just give in and they'll start drinking it again. Like this time next year, Bud Lights, they'll be same price and no one will care anymore. And the only people who will don't matter. You know what I mean? Like the people who do care still don't matter, but like those individuals who want so bad to be outraged and angry, they're going to go to 4th of July and give in and at least drink a Bud Light lime.
Or even more so, the people who are, I think Scott Walker had a video. Like he was also late to the game.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like Kid Rock
for dumping on Bud.
For throwing out the Bud Light cans in his fridge. Who knows if it was in his fridge, but it was with those big thumbs of his.
Yeah.
Do you remember that weird picture of his hands?
Yeah, I don't
You don't remember this? Okay,
Nope.
anyways. But it was like 3 weeks after this had all broke, and like after the Kid Rock video. And so he was adding on, but it's like Scott Walker doesn't care.
No.
So all the people who are doing performative protests,
Outrage.
those will be the first people to be like, all right, fine, I'll take a Bud if that's all you got at whatever 4th of July party they're at this year.
And trust me, in another 3 months, this same group of people will have a new thing that they are outraged about, because that is the MO of the Republican Party.
And they'll call us snowflakes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's
But that's the Target thing. Like and the thing is, I don't think Target is like, it's the pressure of cancel culture and it's people boycotting their shopping. It's because people are being, their actual staff is being threatened. Yeah. And so they're like, well, we're pulling some of this stuff for the safety of our employees.
Think about that, people.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos of people like going to Target and it's not even like pride clothing. It's just they're upset with the colors that quote unquote boys clothing has, and they'll make a scene in a Target.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing?
Who has the time?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is someone who accidentally got 500,000 followers because he said something stupid, and now he can quit his job because Instagram considers him as influencer. So now he gets to go and bother people when they're at a
Who is
Walmart.
this?
It's just some dude I saw on TikTok. I didn't get his name, but like, he's at a Target and he's upset about the clothing that's for boys because it looks too feminine, and we are feminizing men and we are taking away their manlyhood. Yeah, they're for these shirts.
They're androgynous right now.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, everything down below purely mechanical.
All right. Well, to end on a high note before we welcome our guests in the next segment, what do you want to say about female brewers?
Yes. So the Miller Lite thing, they were talking about women in brewing. If you really want to be a part of something cool or just read up about it, you can also donate to it. The Pink Boots Society is a nonprofit organization, international membership. It supports women and non-binary people working in fermented beverage and allied industries. At Lakefront, we have done now, as my time been there, done 2 beers that work directly with them, where we bring in women to help create the brew, to help come up with the idea, create it, brew it, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And they wear wonderful pink jumpsuits with pink boots. And it is all about awareness, about bringing women into this industry, which is something we need, and non-binary people as well, because it is a very male-dominated world. And this is about fostering empowerment and inclusivity. So the Pink Boots Society, it's pinkbootssociety.org. Find out more about that, and you can get something cool.
In on something cool. All right. Well, something else that is not cool, apparently, if you run into it, is wild parsnips. And so when we come back, we're going to be talking to Jason Granberg and Mackenzie Manicki about invasive plants, wild parsnips. Watch out. We'll be back in a minute. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Just don't know me, the bars in this guitar, and long neck eyes go, baby, never broke my heart, no, it never broke my heart.
And I looking for someone to tell me that that was very positive. Of course, we have that there.
Les Paul, Waukesha's famous farmers market, and The Shaw, WAUK.
When I'm in the car, I'm always listening.
CBS News Brief. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says reaching an agreement on raising the nation's debt ceiling would be easy if Democrats would make one simple concession.
The off-ramp here is to solve the problem, to spend less than we spent last year. That's not that difficult.
Negotiations said to be underway at this hour. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will announce his presidential candidacy on Twitter tonight, says CBS's Robert Costa.
DeSantis' allies say he'll play up his combative politics alongside the tech billionaire, casting himself as a fellow culture warrior on a platform his biggest rival embraced as president.
It was 1 year ago today that 19 students and 2 teachers were shot and killed at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Reporter Chris Fox is there.
A private memorial for the victims' families will be held at the Uvalde Civic Center. This is where a year ago, law enforcement first told the families that their loved ones did not survive.
A very difficult day. CBS News Brief. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected on the Civic Media Network, civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Milwaukee leaders are urging state senators for local control to solve their budget problems. At a Senate committee hearing yesterday, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley described a dire situation.
We will have to make over $100 million in cuts to provide the same level of service that we do now, after already cutting approximately $300 million already in the past decade.
For now, the shared revenue bill requires Milwaukee and Milwaukee County to hold referendums to increase local sales taxes. Meanwhile, Madison leaders say they're not getting enough shared revenue under the bill. Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway tells the Cap Times an increase of a little more than $2.5 million a year isn't enough. In sports, the Brewers blanked Houston last night 6-0. The rubber match is this afternoon. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Did you know Bratfest, the annual Memorial Day weekend event in Madison, is 40 years old? Its history is pretty rich, too, when the grocery store-owning Metcalf family set up a brat tent in the store parking lot to sell brats to customers. By 2004, more than 180,000 brats were being sold in the parking lot. Okay, so now can you guess how many gallons of ketchup are needed for the brats every year? 30 gallons? 45? 74 gallons? The answer coming up. These days, the fest isn't just about the brats.
You know, we have a kids zone, we have a farm zone, we have a sports zone, just not really like anything else.
That's Michael Alexander, one of the organizers.
Roughly 150,000 of our closest and dearest friends.
And more numbers, 4 million brats over 40 years, raising $2.5 million, supporting more than 120 nonprofits. And the amount of ketchup used, 74 gallons. I'm Terry Barr for the Civic Media Radio Network.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes, don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
You were supposed to get a colon cancer screening, but stuff came up.
We did have to pick up the twins from practice.
But on the way, we hit a giant pothole.
If you are 45 and older, don't let butt stuff get in the way of your screening.
Let's have a parsnip. I want to have a parsnip. Roast it up, crunch. Let's have a parsnip. Mother? I'm gonna let you have it. Let's have a parsnip. I want to have a parsnip. Open, peel, bite. Let's have a parsnip. Because we're going to buy and buy and buy and get Tesco money.
I don't even know how to start this segment because you found a parsnip song.
Of course
Jane.
I did. This is what I live for. Are you kidding me?
What is the name of this? Is it a small British child?
It's a small British child named Harrison, and the song is called "Let's Have a Parsnip."
It's a parody off of what song?
It's not. I think it was an original.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Our guests can tell us if there are more songs about parsnips.
Yes, I'm sure. So we are talking to Jason Granberg, who is an invasive species specialist in the Bureau of Natural Heritage Conservation at the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and Mackenzie Manicki, who's also an invasive plant specialist in the Bureau of Natural Heritage Conservation at the Wisconsin DNR. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, glad to be here.
So I'm going to let Jane kick this off because she found this and she's like, I want to talk about parsnips. And I was like, okay.
Well, I want to talk about this because, and I either saw it on WPR, Jason and Mackenzie, or it was a DNR release, because we've all seen parsnips. These wild parsnips grow in ditches and fields and stuff. And I know we've all seen them, and they can they're kind of harmful, right?
They are. So wild parsnip, one of the reasons why they're harmful is they have a chemical called furanocoumarins. And so what these chemicals do is that when they make contact with your skin, they can infiltrate into your cells. And then when your cells are then exposed to ultraviolet light from sunlight, it creates cross linkages in your DNA. And it creates a form of genetic damage. If there's enough genetic damage, then your skin cells die. And it can create these blistering effects. So you can look this up online and look for wild parsnip or phytophotodermatitis blisters. And it can be as bad as having like a 3rd-degree burn.
Oh my God.
It creates these big, open, weeping blisters.
And it can leave scarring too, right, Jason?
It can also lead to scarring too. Other things that it can do is it will also make your skin more susceptible to future sunburns, and can lead to skin pigmentation. So as one of the ways that your skin will respond is that it will produce more melanin, and it will create a darkening of your skin where that burn had once occurred.
So wow. So this is like a way worse if you come into contact with this than like poison ivy, as far as like poison ivy. sucks. But as far as like the long-term effects of poison ivy, I don't think, unless you can probably tell me that too. But this sounds bad if you run into it.
Right. Poison ivy has urushiol, so it's an irritating oil. But the thing with the wild parsnip and other members of the carrot family that it's in, there are other plants that we have in Wisconsin, cow parsnip and giant hogweed, that create much more worse burns. So I'm 6'4", and so sometimes like wild parsnip will be up to my waist. Giant hogweed can grow up to like 8 to 9 feet tall. It can be above your head.
Wow.
So there are plants that we have in Wisconsin that do have risks.
And so what do these things look like? So as far as the layperson, when you're picking, because at least the picture I'm seeing, I think this is an older article, but it's on WXCOW, and it kind of just like looks like baby's breath, like yellow baby's breath at like the top, if this is a correct picture. But like, what does it look like so people know not to touch it?
Is there a way that I can do a screen share real quick?
I don't know if you can.
Okay. Well, like if people have seen things like baby's breath and they've seen things more like Queen Anne's lace, where it's got a white umbel-shaped flower, so like an umbrella-shaped flower. So they have this kind of flat top and lots of little flowers that form that common structure. Wild parsnip has that kind of they have yellow flowers. If you look along the stems have got these paired sets of pinnate leaves, so they're in pairs, and the outside edge is kind of wavy.
Okay.
If you look at the stem itself, it has this kind of like celery-like structure where it has these longitudinal lines. That's one way that you can describe it.
Okay.
Describing it in words doesn't give it justice, but if you Google wild parsnip.
And if you send me all the stuff, I can put it in our show notes for today to be able to put the pictures in there so people can see it. Because Mackenzie, where does this stuff usually grow? Is it like, do you have to be in the forest to like hiking to come into contact with this? Or is this kind of just like at a park?
Yeah, so you can definitely find it at a park. It likes sunny areas, so probably not so bad in a forest. It avoids the shade.
Okay.
But it can be found in a wide variety of moisture habitats. So yeah, that's another part of it. But definitely sunny areas. That's where it likes to focus. You can find it in roadsides, disturbed sites, so like old fields. Things like that. So I would recommend staying on trails if you're in a sunny area. Definitely avoid it.
Because again, it's one of those things that I think we've all seen, and it looks pretty innocuous. You know, you wouldn't think that it had such dangerous properties. So do we have to blowtorch it, or how do we get rid of this stuff?
Yeah, so there's a variety of methods to control for this species. The most common one that I've seen done or I've done myself is using like a spade or a shovel to cut the taproot about 1 to 2 inches below the soil, or just straight up pulling the plant out of the ground if you can. Wear gloves, long sleeves. I would even wear like a face mask, something
Wow.
so you don't get burns on your face. So that's a really effective method, but otherwise, if that's good for small populations, if you have a larger population, you're going to want to maybe mow it, usually when it starts to flower, but before it has started to set seed. Otherwise, you're just going to be spreading seeds around. So those are the two most common methods. Otherwise, herbicides are another option, but yeah.
And so because we're talking to Jason Granberg and Mackenzie Manicki, who are invasive species specialists at the Wisconsin DNR, and about wild parsnips.
Which people need to know about.
Which people need to know about because...
Yes, Jane, yes.
So why, like, what is the biology of, like, they are in the same family as parsnips that we eat, correct?
That's right. So wild parsnip, they were originally as a garden variety. And people have been cultivating parsnips in Europe and Asia for millennia. So I was doing a bit of reading on the cultivation of parsnips. And so people like to use them as like a sugar substitute before the occurrence of like cane sugar. And you kind of see that as a carryover into things like carrot cake.
Mm-hmm.
So people would either like roast the parsnips by themselves, or they would incorporate them into other baked goods. Going on to your last segment, I saw that in the areas in Northern Ireland, people would take parsnips and they would add them with hops, and then they would boil them and turn them into beer, and then also into liquor.
Interesting.
So there's enough sugar in that so that allows you to turn it into kind of a brew. There's some other interesting things about the history of the cultivation. So in Europe and in ancient Rome, there's the Emperor Tiberius. So he was known to enjoy parsnips. And as part of the tribute from Gaul and Germania, he would receive them. And so apparently the parsnips from that part of the world were sweeter because of the cold snap than what they could cultivate already in Italy. There's also other mentions of it being used in medicine. So there was a Greek physician named Galen. And so he was also at the time of the gladiators. So he was a Greek physician and they came to Rome. And then he was one of the first physicians that wrote things down about different kinds of approaches. With the medicinal use of parsnips, so the Persians had described the uses as a gastric tonic, a laxative, a kidney stone crusher, and a diuretic.
Kidney stone crusher.
Kidney stone crusher.
That's my wrestling name.
And then in England, there was another physician. His name was Nicholas Culpeper, and this is in 1652. And he has this great line that says, "But the wild parsnips hath a cutting and attenuating, cleansing and opening quality therein. It resists and helps the bitings of serpents, eases the pains and stitches in the sides, and dissolves wind both in the stomach and bowels, and provokes urine." So
Jason,
it's had this history.
Jason, next time you gotta do the accent. Do the accent next time. Come on.
Sorry, my skills are only so far.
So in certain ways, parsnips are almost like, because I remember reading about this with like aloe, where it was like this magical plant that had all of these different things that it could solve. And so it sounds like parsnips, the ones that you can eat, were seen or have been seen similarly as far as it being a medicine, being used for all these different reasons. And so when did it switch, or how does it switch from being, a snack that you can make into beer and use for medicine and crush some kidney stones, to like, don't touch this, it will change your genetic code and burn you?
So all these plants that are in the carrot family, carrots, parsnips, celeries, they all have those furanocoumarins. And what can happen is if you have a plant, or sometimes even animals, if you cease to cultivate them or maintain them, they can then revert back to a wild type. And then the local environment can then change how those genes are expressed. And that's one of the problems with parsnip. It reverted back to a wild form, and then those furanocoumarins are present.
So you can't the wild parsnips. You should not be going for the root and trying to make something out of the root.
I have heard of some people still being able to do that. I am not a forager in that way, so I can't make any recommendations on foraging wild parsnips for personal use.
And what purpose in nature does it serve? I mean, is there somebody who eats them?
There's different organisms that eat parsnips. There's actually as a potential biocontrol, there is a kind of a web worm that will eat parsnip, but we've not seen it occur in large enough numbers to actually control populations. Goats can feed on it. Other herbivores can eat on it. And in some cases,
goats are amazing.
Goats are garbage disposals.
Anything.
And in some cases, when you have animals that will feed on plants that have that furanocoumarin, it will build up in their skin. And so you can see cases where horses, cattle, goats, they will have a sunburn on the top of their muzzle where the fur is thinnest.
Interesting.
And here I was just sitting there going, parsnips? Why are we talking about parsnips? I am so fascinated.
So I guess so we know parsnips, but as summer is coming and people are spending more time outside, what other species, as two invasive species specialists, what else should people watch out for this summer?
So we have different invasive species that are in the state. And so one rule that we have that helps govern the control of them is called NR 40. It's the state's invasive species rule. And species can be regulated under one of two classes. They can be either restricted or prohibited. Prohibited species are our early detection plants and animals. That if they are detected in the landscape, we want to know about them as quickly as we can so that we can mobilize funding, staff, partners, so that we can help control them while they're still in small sizes. There are other plants and animals that we have that are on the list that pose dangers in their own ways. So we've got, like we're talking about parsnip. That's a human health hazard. The giant hogweed's another one. Japanese knotweed. If you've your homes, Japanese knotweed has been known to punch through asphalt. It can break through the foundations of your basement. There have been pictures of it, like where if it lands on a flat roof, it will punch down through your roof and ceiling and grow into your home.
What?
Oh my god!
We need to set you people up with some movie producers because
was-
there's a horror movie waiting to be made out of this stuff.
I'm just thinking
It's the
Little
Poison
Shop of
Ivy
Horror.
character from Batman.
I'm thinking Little Shop of Horrors now too. It's just like I was gonna say I'm never going outside again. I don't know what to do anymore. Plants will just beat us. They win. They win.
Mother Earth undefeated.
Yep, she'll always win.
And so many of these plants, they have these defenses because they can't escape. They can't run away. So it's like one of the like a philosophical question, like why do plants have thorns? Why are they poisonous? So plants like you've got nicotine. It's a natural insecticide because it will short circuit the insect's nervous system.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're coming up against a break, so we have to let you go. But this was fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason Granberg and Mackenzie Manicki. We'll send me all that information on my email so I can put it on today's show notes so people know what to look out for when it comes to wild parsnip. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Parsnip. Open, peel, bite. Let's have a parsnip because we're going to buy and buy and buy and give Tesco money. A parsnip's like a carrot, that's more slender, tall and slim. A parsnip's like a carrot, that's more slender, tall and slim.
The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Civic Media isn't just another broadcast company. We're your neighbors. We bleed green and gold, and we love nothing more than to help fellow Wisconsinites succeed. Whether your business wants to advertise to your local community or the entire state, Civic Media can help. Find out more at civicmedia.us.
Looking for more local programming? Check out our website, civicmedia.us, to see our entire lineup.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. More clouds than sun this afternoon with highs around 64. Northeast winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows around 42. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 61. Mainly sunny skies and calm Friday with daytime highs approaching 69. 73 Saturday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 63 degrees.
Pregnant women are smug. Everyone knows it, nobody says it because they're pregnant. Effing son of a gun. You think you're so deep now, you give me the creeps now that you're pregnant. I can't count all the ways how.
Can we just listen to that whole song?
So, do you want a boy or a girl? Oh, it doesn't matter as long as it's healthy. Really? Because I don't feel like those two things are related at all. It's not like one or the other. No, as long as it's healthy. I can't wait to hear someone say
That song is amazing.
I've definitely said that thing.
Garfunkel notes are amazing.
But I also feel like that's an unfair question. It's like, oh, did you want a boy or a girl? It's like, what? How are you supposed to respond to that? Yes, I wanted a boy, but I'm having a girl. Like, it's like a silly small talk question.
I know, but the way that the smug pregnant women answer it, it's just like, ugh, why did I even bother asking in the first place? Yeah, you don't understand life until you have a baby, Greg. I guess I'll never understand life. Thank you, Jane, for bringing that up. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
And then I also found, so I'll put that in the show notes as well. It's not an original.
Oh, let's have parsnips.
Let's have a parsnip. I knew that beat. It is a parody song of the Scissor Sisters. Let's have a Kiki. I want to have a Kiki. Yes. And we didn't have time to play it, but I haven't heard that song in a very long time.
My God.
And so I will put that in the show notes as well today. But
I'm sorry, I just want to say that wild parsnip thing was really interesting.
I wanted to keep talking.
So fascinating.
I wanted to keep talking about it. I wanted to keep it. And
you were so skeptical.
Well, of course I was. We're talking about parsnips. I don't know anything about parsnips.
That's why we listen to this program, Greg.
That's true.
Okay. Well, pack your bags. We're going on a guilt trip. I mean, yeah. And both of them had very relaxing voices. I just want them to read books to me.
Japanese, also just the name of some of these things, like wild parsnips, kind of boring name. Japanese knotweed.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? Giant hogweed.
Yeah.
Like,
and I am genuinely surprised that horror movie producers haven't, or maybe they have, but that stuff sounds seriously like right out of a movie. With roots that can bash through your asphalt and your basement and stuff.
And he's not kidding. I just looked up a picture of giant hogweed, and I don't think the woman in this picture is 6'4", as Jason says that he is, but it is 2.5 times taller than her.
Wow.
Of how tall this, and it's this adult woman.
There's even a song by the band Genesis called Return of the Giant Hogweed. I mean,
is there really?
Yeah, it's back when Peter Gabriel was the lead singer.
Return of the giant hogweed. What is this? What is the song about?
Who knows? Peter Gabriel wrote it in the early 70s.
It's probably a lot of drugs.
Fanciful walking through meadows and things of that nature.
All right. Well, while Jane tries to find it, let's talk about who's going to be at the Laughing Tap this weekend.
Oh my goodness! It is one Marlon Hill. He's been on the Boondocks. He has been on Showtime at the Apollo. He has been a Milwaukee comedian for decades now.
He's from Milwaukee?
He's from Milwaukee.
Nice.
And he will be actually recording his DVD this weekend. So there's a show Thursday, Friday.
There's still DVDs?
I'm not going to get into it. Okay. I'm not going to try to explain technology to that man. I love him to death, but whatever. Yeah, one show Thursday, one show Friday, one show Saturday. All shows at 7:30. Tickets available at laughingtap.com. Get your tickets because they are selling well right now. And
nice.
You want to make sure if you want to come down, it's going to have great opening acts. And it's always great to have Marlon here for a weekend because he's just a good guy, lots of good energy, really good to the community for comedy, and just positive dude. Love him to death.
Hey, and it's a nice long weekend. What a great fun way to enjoy that.
Get your comedy
on. And absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Speaking of getting your comedy on,
yeah, what's up?
You're going to be performing soon.
I will be.
Not in Milwaukee.
In July I will be, but not coming up in the next 2 weeks.
But coming up in the next 2 weeks, you will be performing in Chicago.
In Chicago, the 2nd and 3rd at the Den Theater, opening up for one Mr. Hari Kondabolu.
Are we going to get him on the show?
We will. I will work on that. Yeah, I do want to get him on the show to talk about a couple of things, like his new special Vacation Baby, which is on YouTube right now. And he also just did a really good podcast episode with Hank Azaria regarding Apu and The Simpsons.
Wow.
So I want to talk to him about both those things, and I will work on getting those in the next couple weeks if that's possible.
Yeah, but that is because that, for people who do not know, that was kind of, I'm not sure that's his big breakthrough, but he made a little bit of a name for himself with his kind of march against Apu, the character.
Well, it wasn't.
You can probably explain it better than I can.
He did a documentary called "The Problem with Apu." And
yes,
basically, it's looking at South Asian representation in media, and the crux of it is that Hari, growing up as a lifelong Simpsons fan, his big problem was Apu defined him to people, so he had to deal with the stereotypes that came from that show being thrown back at him. And he's like, I love The Simpsons, but that doesn't mean you can't critique something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got a name for himself by doing that. And one of the things he called for in that he wanted to just have a conversation with Hank Azaria, and it never ended up happening. But I was telling you this, I'll get him on the show and he can explain it and keep in tune for the interview, because I just want to say this: Hank Azaria is a next level human. I will say that based on what Hari has told me about
who
Hank's
he is.
journey. So yeah, we'll get him on the show. But yeah, June 2nd and 3rd, the Den Theater in Chicago. Tickets are available. 4 shows. I will be hosting. It'll be amazing.
Send me those links so I can put in the show notes.
I will send you those links.
And you can always find the show notes at asgoeswisconsin.com/listen.
Get those pictures of the wild parsnips.
I'll get there's a lot. I have a busy afternoon. I'm going to get these up today.
Jane's all about that parsnip, baby.
I'm on a mission.
Did you find the giant hogweed song?
I did. We'll use it.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What a fun show today.
Yeah.
Do we have any closing thoughts? Any closing notes for before we do our second to last No Sour Haha Fun Time Power Hour?
Corporations don't care about you.
Okay, that's a good recap.
Yep.
What else? What should we recap? Basically that healthcare is a sham in this country.
Yep.
That politicians don't really give a flying F about gun control, or some don't.
Or kids.
Shout out and in general, the woman who we all decided that we would probably rather take probation than go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Greg's Roundup. Genevieve told us about housing, beer wars, parsnips. Yeah, it was a good show.
We just shouted out.
We covered a lot of ground today.
Yes, we did.
I love it. That's what I love about this show, baby.
All right. Well, tomorrow we will do it all again. We will have our weekly public cervix announcement with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. So if you have questions about women's health or health in general, you can shoot us an email at asgoeswisconsin@civicmedia.us. But in general, thank you for texting. Thank you for calling. Thank you for being part of the show. We will see you back here tomorrow at 11. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.
My team of wheat is our age. Human bodies through will know. With your always heart, never clear.